What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news right here on our YouTube page, along with streaming live on Facebook as well, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, your host with the most, Adam Perez, back once again, our first episode of the new year, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope each and every one of you enjoyed your Christmas. Certainly hope you enjoyed your new year as well. I mean, granted, we were here last weekend to go ahead and do a little bit of a spoiler review for Wonder Woman 1984, but we are back on top of our game, guys. We're going to be breaking down 6 topics for you guys today in regards to all the news that wind up dropping this week and a little bit of the week before that we certainly might have missed. So certainly don't worry, we're definitely going to be tackling it all for you today. And we've got a loaded crew. What's going on, fellas? Good to see everybody here today. How's everybody doing, man?
I'm doing really good. Good to be back.
Happy New Year's, fellas. Did you guys have a good holiday overall?
The holiday don't matter. 2020 is over with. That's the only thing that matters.
Did you guys get everything off your Christmas list, guys? Did you get everything you asked for? Did Santa come through for you guys?
I got everything I asked for, which was kind of nothing. So yeah. Ask for nothing and you will always be satisfied. Boom.
Yeah. I did not get Green Arrow and the Canaries confirmed, and I did not get Angela Simmons, you know what I'm saying, with a bow on at my front door. So, like, Santa failed me this year.
I got Cobra Kai Season 3 on Netflix, so I'm happy.
That's right. Yeah, Cobra Kai did, in fact, release this week. Did you check it all out completely, Indy? Did you knock it out like Stuart or what?
I'm done. It went live on the 1st. I was done. When it went live, I was done literally midday.
Yeah. I'm so slow with all this stuff. This stuff I should be done in a day. I'm still watching it, but we've had other things on our plate that we've been trying to do also. So, trying to get stuff ready for the channel and things like that. But I think I'm only on like episode 4 or 5, if I'm not mistaken. LaRusso just went to Japan, so I'm not going to go ahead and spoil it or talk too much into detail about it. But so I'm almost there, but I'm absolutely loving what I'm seeing so far. So, good seeing you guys. Good, certainly having everybody back for the new year. So I'm sure there's a ton of stuff we're going to be getting into this year, trying to upgrade the channel, bring you guys some continued fresh content. We also have a ton of our television shows returning, like The Flash, Batwoman, Supergirl, Black Lightning. All your DC television shows are returning, and that means we are going to be getting back to work with reviews for each and every one of you guys. So certainly look forward to that. But guys, before we get into the main topics, you know how we like to do around here. We definitely like to go ahead and throw out maybe some honorable mentions, maybe some things that didn't quite make the cut this week that kind of jumped out to us. So let me go ahead and throw this over to you guys first. Is there anything out there that you guys saw that maybe tickled your fancy a little bit you wanted to talk briefly about?
The bad news that you dropped yesterday on APlus More Phenomenal that I was sad to see all over the internet that Power Rangers is leaving Netflix. That actually is like really surprising to me.
Yeah, I don't know what Hasbro's plans are, but you'll still at least be able to get MMPR on Netflix, and I believe they have Ninja Steel and Beast Morphers that are set to go ahead and still be up there on Netflix, and I think you might end up getting Dino Fury. So I don't know if it's a thing of licensing's expired, and now they're trying to find a new home for it, or if they're just yanking some of these past seasons off there. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, it definitely left some fans in an uproar yesterday. How about you, Indy? You got any news or anything that you saw?
The possibility that we might be ending up with, which we already seen them lay the groundwork for, but in our next round of CW television shows, it might be a lot of hints towards that Green Lantern HBO Max show. It's a lot of news popping up about that.
Oh, very nice. Okay, we'll have to keep our eye on that because I really would love to see how that how that would certainly play out for the Green Lantern HBO Max. A couple of things that jumped out to me. Wonder Woman 1984 did pass $100 million at the box office this week, which is I think a pretty stellar achievement in itself in this pandemic era that we currently have. What else did I wind up seeing? Oh, for you guys that love some animated Batman, the animated series and Batman Beyond has officially moved over to HBO Max, guys. So you can actually watch the animated series on the streaming service now. Look at Indy's face. He's so. I was like, is the computer froze or stuck on that image, or is that Indy or what?
No, that was that shock. That was that shock. Yeah, y'all see how I went with the green Sprite can just to get the little effect, right?
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, the magic of television, guys.
Invisible soda can.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize that. That's pretty cool. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the thing that I thought was so funny though about the way it's laid out, and it might have been this way on the DC Universe website as well. But essentially with Batman the Animated Series, they go with the order in which they aired and not the actual production order. So you get like the first episode, which is like I think it was called like The Cat in the Claw, part 1, and then part 2 isn't until like episode 7.
Yeah, that's kind of wait, is that that's not chronologically, is it?
No, it's it's in order of which they aired out of order.
Okay,
kind of like Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, I was like, that sounds like Clone Wars. That's one of the things I would love to do this year is revisit Clone Wars, but do their actual timeline that they have set up for it. You know, instead of watching it in order. I think they have it set up specifically where you can find all the episodes in order. So I'm probably going to go ahead and check that out. All right, guys, I think that'll probably do it for the honorable mentions for us today. So I guess, guys, it's time for us to get into some of these main topics. You guys ready to dive into this with me?
Let's get it.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, right off the bat, guys, we're going to talk about some DCEU a little bit. As Walter Hamada himself, the president of DC Films, actually had a sit-down interview with the New York Times this week to talk a little bit about just the ever-evolving or ever-changing world that is the DCEU, and really the fact that one of their main upper hands, if you will, that they certainly have that other cinematic franchises certainly don't, is that they have the benefit of multiverse. And so it definitely feels as though the DC Films is kind of going in that direction. But this week, Walter Hamada himself actually opened up just a little bit more to really showcase to us just all the vast changes that are definitely coming to the DCEU along with HBO Max and really how those all kind of work side by side with one another. So let's kind of dive into this and really just talk about some of the changes that we know that we're expected to see when it comes to the DCEU certainly going forward. So I thought this was a pretty interesting article overall, but again, it is from the New York Times. It says it's titled "Managing Movie Superheroes is About to Get a Lot More Complicated." And so they did get the opportunity to sit down with the president of DC Films here and Walter Hamada, who actually came on shortly after the Justice League movie wind up releasing. I believe they wind up having a changing of the guard at Warner Brothers, and Walter Hamada wind up stepping in. So it says, let's see here. It says Los Angeles. Walter Hamada is not a typical superhero wrangler. He doesn't have a booming fanboy-in-chief personality. His modest home office, at least as it appears on Zoom, is a light on the usual cape and cowl collectibles. Hollywood was not even his first calling. He was actually set out to be a mechanical engineer. It says, however, Mr. Hamada, age 52, manages the movie careers of Wonder Woman, Batman, Cyborg, The Flash, Superman, and other DC characters. It does say here, it says, the most expensive DC movies, up to 4 a year, starting in 2022, are designed for release in movie theaters. So as of right now, beginning in 2022, Walter Hamada plans on putting out 4 DC movies in theaters. It says, additionally, superhero movies, 2 annually is the goal, perhaps focus on riskier characters like Batgirl and Static Shock, will arrive exclusively on HBO Max, the fledgling streaming service owned by Warner Media. It also does say that in addition, DC Films, which is part of Warner Brothers, will work with filmmakers to develop movie offshoots. Other words, TV series that run on HBO Max and interconnected with the big screen endeavors. This is what Hamada said. He says, with every movie we're looking at now, we're thinking, what's the potential Max spinoff series. And Hamada's not joking either, man. I mean, when you think about it, in regards to all the spinoff announcements so far, we've gotten ourselves the Gotham PD spinoff series, which is supposed to roll out from Matt Reeves' The Batman. And we also have The Peacemaker, which is going to be the John Cena character that's getting his own spinoff series from the Suicide Squad as well. So a ton of huge information in here. So the idea, again, guys, beginning 2022, we're supposed to be having overall, it seems like 6 superhero movies, ladies and gentlemen. It says 4 of the most expensive DC movies to theaters, and then 2 annually right now is the goal for riskier characters to go to HBO Max, along with some of the spin-off series. So let me throw this out to you guys first. I definitely want to go ahead and ask this to Indy. Let me get your point of view on this first, Indy. You hear all this news about the idea of 6 potential DC films at a time dropping 2022. Do you feel it's too much? Do you feel as though, hey, Disney's doing it right now? It seems that's probably the goal. Where do you feel DC is at right now in regards to tackling something of this? Like, do you like this sort of mindset that they have, the 4 to theaters, 2 to streaming, and the idea of the spinoffs? How do you like what they're forming so far?
I really believe that the situation going where they're deciding to put like maybe the riskier films on HBO Max, meaning riskier films is meaning they don't know how the characters will do, and they want to put them somewhere to be seen, but they don't think they're blockbuster worthy. Let's get this out here right. Static Shock is definitely blockbuster worthy. Static Shock can make you some money in the big screen in theaters, but I understand the duress, and especially with the climate that America is in right now, not talking about COVID, talking about something totally different, on them taking and trying to put that film there. I think this is the smarter move for them, as considering as how a lot of their films were taken in, as a lot of them not being the best. Because just think about it. After that Batman run, after the Dark Knight, you know what I'm saying, Wonder Woman 1, we've been hearing the talks about, you know what I'm saying, 1984. What really have they put on the screen that's actually lent itself to being something that was very special or stand outish, you know what I'm saying, or derive beat expectations. So they can't be like Marvel, who 9 times out of 10 is batting at least 80% when they put movies out, because then they don't have that batting average. So this will be the smarter route for them to go. Will it work? I don't know. I really have to see what the intake of the subscriber count of HBO Max is, and see if it constantly increases. Because in all honesty, they don't have the allure of a Disney Plus. And what I mean by allure is you don't have every household with kids subscribe to Disney Plus, because that's the main reason most people subscribe, is to sit their kids in front of the TV and not have to watch them for 8 hours. So we're going to see what happens with this.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand what you're saying there. Also, I will say, I will be really interested to kind of see, 2021 is definitely the year where HBO Max has already made their announcements like, hey, guys, all our 2021 movies that we plan on doing theaters are all coming to HBO Max right now. So hopefully, like you said, Indy, this will be a really big boost to their subscriber count. They've been kind of hush-hush in regards to just the impact that maybe Wonder Woman 84 has had on their streaming service. I know that they've mentioned like, oh, yeah, we've gotten a ton of subscribers, but they haven't really given us any numbers in regards to how well it's certainly done. So I think this, along with 2021, will definitely give us a interesting perspective leading into 2022 to see if maybe that's to see how good of a model that certainly is. I will say this, though, for me, this feels like this is Warner Brothers also kind of listening to maybe some of the pushback that they've gotten from people that are complaining about throwing all their movies onto HBO Max, right? The fact that Walter Hamada is at least saying, hey, we at least have plans to come back to the theaters. We've got 4 big movies that we're trying to put out into movie theaters. I think it's trying to show Warner Brothers like, maybe we did make a mistake with 2021, but we'll see how the model turns out. And trust me, theaters will certainly support you come 2022. So I think maybe putting to rest that this is just an experiment for this year and trying to go back to the big theatrical releases the following year, which if you ask me, I'm pumped for. But Stuart, you hear this news about the idea of 4 big movies 2022, 2 possibly straight to HBO Max for the riskier ones, along with the spinoff series. How do you like the model that Walter Hamada is putting together so far?
Honestly, It's really hard to say. This is a big gamble, the way that they've kind of gone from just doing 1 or 2 movies a year, and now they're bumping it all the way up to 6. Just even though they haven't really, even though none of their movies have been that financially successful to the point where we're like, okay, we can start releasing movies just like Marvel does. I don't think they're quite at that level yet, and I feel like they're kind of almost trying to do what got them in trouble in the first place, and that is trying to play catch up with Marvel by releasing so many movies at once. Whereas, like, you know, before, I feel like that was DC's kind of big downfall, is when they tried to go from just Superman to Batman versus Superman straight to Justice League. That was them being like, all right, cool, we're trying to catch up with Marvel and all the movies they've done, but we're going to try to do it with just 3 movies. Now it kind of feels like they're going with a very different approach. We're like, okay, now we're going to catch up with Marvel, but this time it's going to be by releasing 6 movies a year as opposed to the usual 4 that Marvel is doing. So again, it may pay off later, but we've seen DC go down this route before and it didn't work out in their favor before. So yeah, it's a risky move. I personally would have played it slightly safer, and it's interesting, the quote of the riskier characters going to HBO Max, because if anything, I feel like depending on the budget you give those films, the riskier movies kind of have proven that those are the ones that DC can make a lot more money off of.
Because like a Joker, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because the Joker had less than $100 million to it. I believe it was like a $60 million movie, and it almost made $1 billion. Actually, it might have made $1 billion.
I think it did.
Yeah. So, you know, I think that if they wanted to go with riskier characters, they should totally go for that, but like, just not with as big of a budget. And I think you will get that level of an income from it. And even if you don't, at least you didn't take a huge loss in the box office.
You know, what really jumps out to me is also the fact of them saying they have like 6 movies planned. I'm thinking, I'm sitting here scratching my head, like, what movies are you guys working on for 2022 that we should all kind of know about? So I would be interested to see what they have rolling out. But I'm in agreement with you, because even Indy mentioned the idea of the riskier characters. You know, you look at somebody like a Batgirl and a Static Shock. Like, if you ask me, I almost feel like the movie industry is begging for another sort of black superhero on the big screen, honestly, you know. And if you got, especially if you got somebody like a Michael B. Jordan that's coming in to produce that particular film, I feel like Static Shock is probably one that you would want to really push more mainstream, if anything. So, you know, we've heard the idea of the Batgirl movie kind of coming and going, right? Josh Whedon on board. He's off now. Now they've got a new writer, sort of thing. So we haven't really seen too much development in regards to it. But maybe some of these riskier films, like if these are their riskier films, what are the other 4 that you plan on dropping on DC? I would be really curious to kind of know that mentality. But I do want to go back to this article for just a second, guys, because further down, right after that, it does go on to say, it says, even though if you thought that there was a glut of superheroes before, just wait. It says, to make all the storylines work, DC Films will introduce movie audiences to a comics concept known as the multiverse. Parallel worlds where different versions of the same characters exist simultaneously. Coming up, for instance, Warner Brothers will have 2 different film sagas involving Batman, played by 2 different actors, running at the same time. The complicated plan involves a sharp increase in production. Last year, Warner Brothers made 2 live-action superhero movies, Joker and Shazam, and there was only Aquaman back in 2018. All 3 were smash hits, underscoring the financial opportunity of making more. So yeah, so they do talk about the idea of having more Batmans for them to certainly play with as well. You know, I've always thought that Batman was certainly one of those characters that I think you could have a little bit of fun playing around with like that. Simply because of the fact that his rogues gallery and his cast is so big, it almost felt like you could literally create a cinematic universe around Batman by himself. So, you know, I don't really know exactly how much longer they plan on using Ben Affleck as Batman, whether or not this is simply going to be a one-off for him for the Justice League, Zack Snyder type of thing. But I think as viewers, I think we've kind of come across an understanding that the Ben Affleck Batman is not the Robert Pattinson Batman, that they're 2 completely different characters. Do you think something like that would confuse audiences, or do you think, like Walter Hamada saying, that he thinks that the audience is smart enough to kind of catch on?
I think the audience is smart enough to catch on, especially nowadays with having the internet at our in our hand. There was a movie that was I may have brought this up on the channel before, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself. But there was a movie that was supposed to come out back in 2008 during the writer's strike, and it was Justice League Mortal. And one of the two reasons that we ended up never actually seeing this film was because we had the Dark Knight trilogy going on at the same time, and one of the questions came up of, would it be smart to have two different Batman on screen at the same time, or would that just cause confusion? Would people think they're the same Batman? Well, I think they're finally realizing after all these years that yes, it is okay to have two different versions of the same character. Audiences will definitely know the difference. I don't think anyone went into the Dwayne Johnson Hercules movie thinking that it was supposed to be a sequel to the Hercules movie that came out 4 months earlier. And I think we can have the same thing with Batman. I feel like people can go and see a Robert Pattinson Batman movie, and then 6 months later, we might get a Ben Affleck Batman movie, and audiences won't be confused about that.
Which I would still love to see, by the way. I definitely want to see Ben Affleck's Batman movie for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I think one quick example is the James Bond, when we had Sean Connery kind of returning to play James Bond after being gone for a while. Again, I don't think anyone was confused and thought that was actually part of the 007 franchise. I think everyone knew that was just a one-off in its own universe type of film.
And I think, and that's funny that you mentioned that too, because I think the article even mentions Hamada using comparisons like James Bond, the idea that you do have multiple actors kind of come in and out of the role, and people still understand. You know what I mean? So you might be right. Audiences might be perfectly okay with that. What are your thoughts, Indy?
This is where I feel that the comics themselves have and everything starts to be made about Batman. Amazing rogue gallery, but a lot of the rogues stand on their own. Think about, we just had a Batman-less Joker movie that was raved as one of the, the best superhero influenced movies of all time. And I just don't think that they need to go that particular route. I do believe the audience is the audience that we have now, especially the generation right below us, are incredibly smart. You know what I'm saying? They understand this stuff, these concepts we have coming on, but let's not sit here, Mr. Amata, and act like the CW and DC universe didn't do most of this job for you. Amen. Like seriously, they set it up, and they set it up to where you could take exactly what they did, especially what's going on with the Flash, and do whatever you wanted in your world, and it was already pre-explained. So hats off to them if they pull it off. I don't think that the movie should be that close together like we were hinting, 6 months. I honestly don't think that will work, because there are some people that will be confused regardless of what you do, and I'm not talking about the smart kids and stuff below. Yeah. I have friends that are utterly confused now of the Flash movie that's supposed to come out and the Flash TV. They can't understand all these different things that are going on. But hey, it's for a new generation, and our kids are brighter than us, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, they definitely are. And then last but not least, when it comes to this article, it does talk a little bit about the multiverse for them a little bit more, and just really how they got to this point. So it says Mr. Hamada and Mr. Emmerich had two options: figuring out how to make various storylines and character incarnations coexist, or just completely start over again. So their answer was the multiverse. Boiled down, it means that some characters, Wonder Woman is portrayed by Gal Gadot, for instance, will continue their adventures on Earth 1, while new incarnations, in other words, Mr. Pattinson as the Batman, will populate Earth 2. It says The Flash, a film set for release in theaters in 2022, will link the two universes and feature two Batmans, with Mr. Affleck returning as one and Michael Keaton returning as another. It says to complicate matters further, HBO gave Zack Snyder more than $70 million to recut his Justice League and expand it with new footage. Mr. Snyder and Warner Brothers had clashed over his original version, yada, yada, yada. Now 4 hours long, will arrive in segments on HBO Max in March. It says, at least for now, Mr. Snyder is not part of the new DC Films blueprint, while studio executives describing his HBO Max project as a storytelling cul-de-sac. In other words, a street that leads nowhere. So it feels as though, as of right now, their mindset when it comes to Zack Snyder's Justice League is the idea of, hey, we're letting this director kind of finish off his vision that he certainly had for his storytelling purposes, but it really, at this particular point in time, really leads nowhere else outside of that. Do you guys believe that, or do you feel as though, because the article does say, as of right now, do you think if there is success when it comes to Zack Snyder's Justice League, considering the fact that we literally just talked about the idea of there being a multiverse and how Walter Hamada's kind of embracing it, do you see that there being a world out there where Zack Snyder does continue along with his Justice League vision if Justice League is in fact successful on HBO Max?
Fans have a voice, and Warner Brothers likes money. When it comes to us getting the Snyder Cut, it's because we demand it. You know what I'm saying? Like fans said, we want this, we want this, we want this, and to make sure that we got this into the world. If he puts this Snyder Cut together and it makes that trash bag of a movie, you know what I'm saying, at least watchable. Like well, it's better. It was a D. If he can get it to a C plus, you know what I'm saying? They have no choice but to look at what he did and be like, we have to give you the reins to do something else, because people are going to demand it, because they're going to look like they took what y'all wanted to do. He went and fixed everything and made this stuff all make sense and made it amazing. You have to take him, even if you just want to give him one or two of the characters. You know, if you want to let him take Superman and run with Superman, or you want him to X with Flash or Cyborg. Well, we don't even know if we're ever going to have a Cyborg movie now, but take the Flash and run with it. You know what I'm saying? You have to let him do something. You're not going to be able to just be like, all right, thank you for fixing that, now go away, because the fans aren't going to let it happen.
Yeah, because I'm already seeing fans that are like hashtag the Snyder Cut's canon or something like that. Like they're already trying to smash it into existence for canon before WB has even said anything, right? Like the idea of Walter Hamada saying, "No, it really leads nowhere." Trust me, all week I just saw Release the Snyder Cut fans pissed. Like, what do you mean release to nowhere? This is canon. It's canon now. Like I see it all over the place. So yeah, the fans definitely are speaking up. What do you say though, Stuart? What are you thinking?
I mean, if it turns out to be good, which keep in mind, even though I'm a huge supporter of the Snyder Cut and I'm glad that we're finally getting it, I still have pretty low expectations for it, to be honest. But like, let's say it actually does end up being
probably good. A good idea though, to have low expectations.
Yeah. I still don't think Warner Brothers is going to give him as much creative control as they gave him before, because regardless of whether or not this new version of the Justice League movie is good or not, you also got to keep in mind that he was given $70 million to do reshoots. So if it's good, it's because he probably had like years and years of deciding what kind of changes he would have made here and there, what kind of tweaks he would make in the post-production to give it like a slightly different vision that he originally intended. So I feel like Warner Brothers would keep that in mind. And I feel like even if this is good, Warner Brothers would look at it as, okay, so clearly Zack Snyder is still talented. He hasn't lost it. However, maybe giving him full-on creative control, letting him control the state of the universe itself isn't a smart idea. So we keep him on board and we let him do like, a movie now and then, like direct and write his own movie and even have his own creative input in other films. Just don't let him take charge, because it didn't work out the first time. It's not going to work out again.
I mean, I do like that setup, the idea of still allowing him to play in the sandbox, but maybe not giving him full autonomy on the whole entire universe, right? Like Zack Snyder, you stay in this side of the universe and do your own kind of thing. I mean, if you are embracing the concept of multiverse, I don't see how they could, like how it would suffer from them allowing him to kind of continue his own thing. I mean, if you can manage it with the Flash and maybe somehow making it all kind of make sense with the Flashpoint movie, then maybe you can kind of make it kind of all kind of come together, if you will. But it definitely feels as though maybe they have their own plans as to what they've been wanting to do with the DC films. I mean, if you look at the slate and what we've seen so far, they really have kind of changed course a little bit in allowing directors to kind of almost do these individual sort of tentpole films and express sort of their vision. We haven't really seen that interconnective tissue that we've saw with the Zack Snyder stuff very early on in the DCEU. So it definitely feels as though they are going a separate route, which for me, I don't mind, especially when it comes to something like DC, because DC has always been known for its Elseworlds and its one shots and its multiverse kind of adventures and things like that. So I feel like DC does have the upper hand in the sense that they can just do these one and done sort of standalone movies if they want to, or really explore some really crazy stuff if they wanted to, because of the fact that they have that multiverse. That, hey, just because we want to go this direction doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to affect some of the characters that you know and love, right? Like, we're literally just doing our own creative vision for a particular character. For me, that's really fascinating. Now, whether or not they make them successful or not is something else, but I do think that it makes Warner Brothers feel a lot more unique in that sense, that they can work with that in a multiverse sort of realm. So I do think WB has that upper hand, though.
And you know, one last thought about it, like with what it looks like the direction of the new upcoming movies are going to be going. I do think like the smarter way to approach it would be less of having movies to set up like other films, and rather just have a connected universe with standalone movies that cross over every now and then. Essentially, I think the way they did it perfectly originally was back in, I believe it was, God, when did this start? Like 2013 when the Flashpoint movie came out. The animated Flashpoint movie. Just they had that string of animated films. Most of them were connected, but every once in a while they would have their one-off animated movies that would take place in their own separate universe, not actually like tied to anything. But you know, essentially it was just like a string of animated movies. And I think if they do that with the live action films, it could work out really good. You have like 4 live action DC movies released every year, and then maybe only 1 or 2 of them aren't actually connected to the DCEU. They're kind of just, their own one-offs, but a majority of them are connected to that connected universe. I think that would be kind of the smarter way to do it.
This did get me thinking, like, considering the fact that they really haven't been making those connective ties to each other lately. I am wondering if they're going to be going more sort of like event style movies, like in the sense of establishing characters in their own individual films and then having like maybe one giant sort of event movie, like a 0 hour or something like that, or like where you then manage to somehow gather all these multiversal sort of characters together in one gigantic sort of event film or something like that. Like, I feel like, because Warner Brothers does do DC Comics does do those type of events, I feel like, where they eventually bring everybody together for those big end of the universe type of moments. I could easily see them maybe trying to pull off something like that if they wanted to.
Yeah, just give me all these Batman and then give me a Dark Knight Metal movie afterwards, and I'm happy.
Yes. For me,
I love it.
For me, I think like one thing they could totally do if they ever do decide to merge all the universes is just make it like a low-key sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths, calling it Infinite Crisis, and give me my Superboy Prime.
Yeah, that'd be pretty badass. I would love it, man. Lloyd says, I just want Clayface on the big screen. I would love Clayface on the big screen. You can actually have him portray a plethora of villains in one film. I think that would be dope. I really would love to see what they do with the Clayface on the big screen. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for that too, Lloyd. I appreciate it.
As long as it doesn't look like Sandman did, we'd be great.
I thought Sandman looked pretty good for what he did back in the day for Sam Raimi. At least the sand effects, at least.
Well, the character, the way the character was played and the way the character was written was like perfection. I love that storyline. I love that whole plot line that the character went through. But man, it's just Sandman, even in video games or cartoons and stuff like that, has never been done right.
Well, maybe we'll eventually get another Sandman somewhere down the line. We'll see what happens. But guys, listen. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, what's funny is if it's my personal fan casting for Clayman or Clayface, you can't really have it in the DCEU because they already used that actor. But I think Ewan McGregor would have been perfect for Clayface. So if they ever want him in the Robert Pattinson movies, that's the actor they should totally go with.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I'd be down for that. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, we definitely want to know your thoughts. You hear this coming out from the New York Times with the interview for Walter Hamada, the idea of them really tackling the multiverse. They're going to be having 4 movies starting in 2022 theatrically for DC Films, along with 2 riskier movies on the HBO Max app as well. We definitely want to know your thoughts in regards to all that in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And with that wrapped up, guys, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next topic today. We'll stick in the realm of DCEU, as we just had ourselves a huge DCEU film that wind up dropping. Wonder Woman 1984 wind up releasing on Christmas Day for the entire world to certainly enjoy, whether it be in theaters or on HBO Max. We've had some time to certainly sit down with it. Last week we actually did ourselves a huge spoiler review in regards to Wonder Woman. So thank you, fellas, for certainly joining us. But that's not the last that we'll ever talk about Wonder Woman. No, not at all, ladies and gentlemen, because literally after we got off the show, I feel like last week, Variety wound up making a huge announcement that, ladies and gentlemen, Wonder Woman 3 is certainly headed our way, ladies and gentlemen. Again, this comes to us from Variety. Lets us know that Wonder Woman 3 is currently in the works, with Patty Jenkins still on board. It says Diana Prince is officially heading back to the big screen for a 3rd Wonder Woman movie. Warner Brothers has fast-tracked development on another installment in the DC Comics franchise, with Gal Gadot returning to star as the title heroine and Patty Jenkins back to write and direct the concluding entry in the superhero trilogy. It says Warner Brothers said that the 3rd Wonder Woman movie will have a traditional theatrical release. So yeah, guys, we can certainly expect Wonder Woman 3 to certainly be out there again. I do recall actually hearing Patty Jenkins reference the idea that if she were to come back for a Wonder Woman 3, that she would only do it if it was getting itself a theatrical release. And so I guess Warner Brothers certainly listened to her and said, you know what, Patty Jenkins, I know people are paying you a ton of money to do other films like Cleopatra and like Star Wars, but we want to make sure that we keep you around so that we can finish off this trilogy with you. And they've given her the, I guess, the agreement that yes, the movie will be released theatrically next time around. Hopefully we're in a much better place. So Patty Jenkins will be returning. I do find it interesting that it's being fast tracked. I guess maybe Warner Brothers was either really pleased with just what they wind up getting, or they figured that Patty Jenkins was going to be pretty busy over the next couple of years, so they probably wanted to try and push this last Wonder Woman film forward as fast as possible. You know, I love the idea of Patty Jenkins coming back. You know, for me at least, despite how I felt about Wonder Woman 1984, while I certainly didn't think it was the best film I've certainly seen in a long time, I will say this: for me, I thought the movie was okay. There certainly were redeemable elements about this film that I still smile about and think about and really enjoyed. So there certainly are aspects of this movie that I had a good time watching. So for me, the movie was just okay, but there were just a lot of plot holes, a lot of issues with just storyline and things like that, some of the characters. So it was still a movie that I felt like I could put on and still enjoy. So for me, like, I know what Patty Jenkins can certainly do as a director. I mean, look what she did with Monster. She also wrote Monster, which led Charlize Theron to her first Oscar ever, sort of thing, right? So Patty Jenkins knows what she's doing. Some of the issues that I've had with Wonder Woman 1984, while yes, Patty Jenkins certainly did co-write it, I definitely understand that Jeff Johns also co-wrote this movie with her as well. And there's just a part of me, guys, because of the fact that maybe we watch so much DC television, like we've seen and have kind of felt Jeff Johns' fingerprints on a lot of DC television stuff. Like when I watch Wonder Woman 1984, I feel like I can tell what's Jeff Johns' ideas and what are maybe some of Patty Jenkins' ideas. So for me, I really felt as though maybe the weak link to this film in regards to its script, because that's really where a lot of the issues of 1984 came, was the script. I really put a lot of that issue on Jeff Johns, because I know what I've seen when it comes to Patty Jenkins being able to write or direct a movie. And I can tell you, it's not Wonder Woman 1984. It definitely doesn't feel or look like that. So when you tell me Patty Jenkins is coming back to write and direct Wonder Woman 3, is there some hesitancy? Maybe a smidge, but I love everything that Patty Jenkins has really done. So for me, I think she truly understands this world, and I think if she really is allowed to just do what she wants to do and not have really anybody else's input, I think we could get ourselves another really good solid entry here for Wonder Woman 3. So I know some people will probably say she's done 2 movies already. Let's maybe move on and get somebody else's fresh vision for the character inside. And for that, I can understand that also. But I just think Patty Jenkins really has her pulse on this character and this world, especially Themyscira and things like that. So I'm willing to give Patty Jenkins certainly another opportunity, because I do think that she'll certainly give us a better film than what she did in 1984. Because I'm not going to put all that blame on her per se for the sequel that we just wind up getting. But those are just simply some of my thoughts. So I love the idea that she's coming back for Wonder Woman 3. Let me throw this over to you, though, Stuart. You hear this news, sir. What are some of your thoughts in regards to it?
I am a bit relieved, because I feel like way too many times now studios have like kind of their irrational reactions to like a movie that like isn't usually as successful as they were kind of hoping for. And so something that they may have had planned for this director to like come back for later projects suddenly get like thrown out of the window, and then the director ends up losing their job, and then they go in a whole new direction. So I like that they're not letting this like bump in the road completely help make them like, restart their whole decision when it comes to the Wonder Woman character. I like that they're still kind of like, okay, this wasn't what we were hoping for, but Patty Jenkins has in the past shown that she knows what she's doing. So we're still gonna, keep her around. It kind of goes to what I didn't like when they first announced the Boba Fett movie way back in the day. I didn't like the reason they fired the director from the project. It seemed to be that the director directed Fantastic Four, and then suddenly that was enough for Disney to be like, you know what, you're fired. How dare you direct a really bad movie, despite the fact that like, you had studio involvement in that film, and it wasn't like entirely his fault that the movie turned out that way. So I think that, yeah, for the most part, the way they react sometimes is really bad. So I'm glad that Warner Brothers isn't making that same mistake that other companies like Disney have made in the past.
Yeah, no, you definitely do make a good point, because sometimes there can be kind of very hair trigger reactions especially when the noise is a little bit too loud. But what about you, Indy? Are you on the board of let's get Patty Jenkins the hell out of here, or hey, bring her back inside, because she still did a good job, but we know she can finish off strong? What are your thoughts, though?
I'm thinking I'm more on let's get somebody to really write this script and let her interpret her style on how she wants to direct it. I don't think I'm for her writing and directing. I think her best thing when it comes to this type of film is for her to put her statement, her staple on it, as far as directing it and putting the image on how she wants things to look, how she wants to tell the story that she was given. Now, when it comes to this, as far as Warner Brothers fast tracking this and letting her come back, man, when you not only did Disney say, come play with us, they went, come play in a franchise that, you know what I'm saying, is just as cherished as this franchise. There's probably more cherished than this franchise you left. Like come play in this. And we know what happens when you get to dabbling in the Star Wars universe, and sometimes you get lost in there and stay in there for a little bit. I mean, Luke Skywalker,
I don't know if we're ever going to get Jon Favreau back to do anything else.
Nah. Jon Favreau is Star Wars, and he's a cameo in a Spider-Man movie every once in a while. That's what you're going to get from Favreau. Disney has his claws in him. He's going nowhere. But it's that type of thing where I could see Warner Brothers feeling pressure in trying to keep her around. And if you wait too long, especially with the stylized and the types of movies she's getting with it's Rogue Squadron, right?
Yeah.
And Cleopatra, like they're just gonna keep coming. You know what I'm saying? And if you get to the point where you go, I don't have to go back there, you can get somebody, you know what I'm saying, somebody else to do it. Don't let her get attached to some huge female Jedi or the next big Marvel female movie, because she's gonna be long gone. So you have to bring her back. But I y'all know how I feel about Wonder Woman 1984, and we're not going to get back into that. But I would like a chance for her to be able to redeem herself.
Yeah, I think for me that's definitely important is her redeeming herself a little bit here, because yeah, you and me, Indy, we both gave Wonder Woman a C also, so we definitely felt along the same lines. You know, I will agree with you here. Like when they said Patty Jenkins was returning, and I did read the idea of her writing it. You know, if anything, directing, yes, completely on board with. Let's do it. Writing it, even though I know she did co-write this, I know I put a lot of the onus onto Jeff Johns, but she certainly did help co-write the film itself. When you look at Wonder Woman, she's not listed as a writer at all. She's simply just a director. She took the script that they gave her and she put together an amazing film with the script that was given to her. So you might be onto something there, Indy, in the sense of, you know, we've seen her have that type of success with Wonder Woman when she wasn't the writer. You know, is that where she's the strongest suited at, is just the idea of directing somebody else's script, if you will. But so that does definitely kind of maybe throw some concern, some worry, but I still put more of it on Jeff Johns, and I'm kind of hoping that that Patty Jenkins does get the opportunity to redeem herself this time around, and maybe has a little bit of a better head on her shoulders. Maybe doesn't have somebody talking in her ear with other ideas that maybe might take away from what she's trying to create from Wonder Woman. So it's just interesting to me, because she even talked about the idea leading up to 1984, if you guys recall, that I don't believe she said that she had a script ready for Wonder Woman 3, or she was waiting to kind of see where the world was going to be at by the time she starts writing the script. So maybe some sort of story popped in her head and she's ready to go. Who knows? But I'm wondering what fast tracked means. Like, how soon are we going to be getting this Wonder Woman movie, considering the fact that we have her supposed to be doing a Star Wars movie that's supposed to be dropping here in 2 years, if I'm not mistaken?
It's like this. I have 3 writers that I feel should be writing this movie, and I don't know if anybody's going to agree with me. The first person I feel should be writing this 3rd movie is Jonathan Hickman.
Okay. Nice.
I really feel like he could put a spin and a nice closing, you know what I'm saying, on Patty Jenkins' history with, you know what I'm saying, these 3 films, and write something really intriguing in case they want it to tie into something else. They want to leave it open, you know what I'm saying, for a 4th film, anything like that. The second person is the writer who wrote for Wonder Woman from 2018 to 2020, G. Willow Wilson. And then the 3rd person is the new confirmed writer for Wonder Woman, Mariko Tamaki. Is one of those are the people I feel that should actually be, you know what I'm saying, even if it's not fully writing the story, getting you a plot line, you know what I'm saying, that outline that you should follow in order to, you know what I'm saying, get the movie to feeling like a Wonder Woman movie, because that's what this movie didn't feel like to me. It didn't feel like a Wonder Woman movie. It didn't feel like this Wonder Woman that I've been reading for the past 8 years, who was this strong, independent person. You know what I'm saying? It felt like a lovesick lady, you know what I'm saying, who just ended up fighting some people. It felt like Step Up, but with fighting. That's what it felt like to me. It just didn't have any of the allure of the first movie or any of the feeling that. I'm glad I didn't go to the theater, because I left the theater after watching the first Wonder Woman feeling excited and like, yes, DC's back. I watched this movie at home on Christmas Day and got up and was like, I hope I got another gift unwrapped to make me feel better.
I will say this. I still want to go see this movie for a 3rd time. I want to see this movie in theaters. There is a feeling that you get from seeing a movie on the big screen that you just don't get while watching it on television. I honestly don't care how big your TV system is or how big your stereo speakers are or whatever the case may be. I do feel as though a movie experience will probably do this movie a little bit more justice. Not to say that it's going to turn this movie into a great film by any stretch, but maybe just hit you a little bit different in certain scenes. You know what I mean? The rumbling of the subwoofers and stuff, you know, kind of thing. Just the gigantic sprawling action and stuff. Like I do want to see Wonder Woman again, but definitely on the big screen, and see if it hits just a little bit differently. But we'll definitely see. But speaking of Patty Jenkins, guys, I just want to You can keep this banner up, because I do want to just go ahead and jump into talking about Patty Jenkins in another light, because we have talked about just how busy she's certainly going to be. But I thought this article that we wind up getting from Collider.com was actually a really good example as to exactly how busy Patty Jenkins is going to be here within the next couple of years. So this is from Collider. It says that Patty Jenkins on Wonder Woman 84 deleted scenes and the status of her Rogue Squadron movie. But when you go down to the article, it says, so this last year, you've been working on a Cleopatra movie, a Star Wars movie, a Wonder Woman sequel, another Wonder Woman sequel. When you wrap doing press on this movie, what's the first thing you're working on? She says, all of them, really. And I have a TV show, all of them. I'm super excited to head into. Yeah, I think they're all great, and I continue to push them all along. We have sort of plans for what will go first, and try to organize how multiple things can happen. So it says, you're in a rare position where you're going to be able to make some really cool movies. Is it one of these things where you're like, okay, I'm going to do all three and I'm going to make them 1 year, 1 year, 1 year? So Jenkins says you can never do it in 1 year. You can never do a good Star Wars movie in 1 year, or a good Cleopatra in 1 year. I think each of those movies take 2 years probably. But I do think, as I've learned on the 2 Wonder Woman movies, I already had sold a limited TV series that I was in love with when they decided to move the Wonder Woman 1984 release date up. So suddenly it was happening on top of each other. And I was actually able to write a huge treatment and have a bunch of creative meetings and go off and do my show while pre-production was happening for Wonder Woman 84. So there are a lot of ways. Certainly, until I'm on a set shooting Star Wars, I could be developing all sorts of other things and pushing them forward. It is actually possible. So I think that's apparently how people do multiple things at once, which I'm usually pretty singularly focused, but I'm getting better at this sort of all the time. So she is pretty much talking about the idea of having to multitask for the next couple of years here, when it does in fact come to her movie. So let me ask you guys, when you hear that, the idea that Patty Jenkins is having to multi-focus here with Star Wars, with Cleopatra, with what she's doing for her next Wonder Woman movie, let me throw this to you, Stuart. Does this bring you any concern, any doubt? The idea of, I really wish you would be focusing on just one thing at a time, or do you leave it up to somebody like Patty Jenkins to be able to be a great multitasker and still give each movie the attention that it certainly needs?
As someone who has seen the step-by-step process of what goes into making a movie, but has not actually worked in that industry yet, I can definitely tell you that if she goes through with this idea of multitasking 3 projects a year, I know directors and producers can do this, and some have actually done an amazing job of doing this in the past. However, yeah, I don't personally think it's a good idea. I think it's smarter to just focus on one project at a time. But again, I've never actually worked in that industry specifically. So, maybe there's a thing of, once you get used to it, once you know step by step what you're supposed to do, maybe it actually does become a lot easier to juggle projects. But I'm not sure if that's the case though. So I don't know. It makes me less excited about her coming back for Wonder Woman 3. Let me put it that way. You're muted.
Dang it, I didn't even know I was muted. Okay. All right. What about you, Indy? When you hear this, does it put you any worry, or you trust somebody like a Patty Jenkins to be able to multitask all this stuff together?
If you couldn't get the one right when you were working on the one, how are you going to get the next one right when you're working on multiple things? So this kind of discourages me a little bit on the time and patience, and also, I guess, enforces my statement about somebody else should write the movie and she should only direct it, to take that load off. And then maybe that's something why I have more confidence when I see a writer also attached to the movie itself.
Well, maybe this will bring you a little bit of confidence, Indy. Let me go ahead and finish this part off too. It says, clearly, I know that you have been, I know you have been careful about talking about it, but can you tell where you are in the writing process and who's actually writing the screenplay? Talking about Star Wars Rogue Squadron. She says, I want him to have his own proper announcement. So I'm going to wait until that comes out. Speaking about the writer, because we still don't know who's writing it. She says, but we're far into we're finishing the treatment basically, which is pretty big. So it ends up being like where you're fairly close to a screenplay, a long screenplay by the time I'm done with the treatment in my process. So yeah, we've been working on it for a while. It's going great, and I'm super excited about it. So it definitely feels as though, so this might help you out a little bit, Indy, in regards to it, right? The idea and the notion that somebody else is writing Star Wars or Rogue Squadron. They clearly have been working on maybe a first draft of a screenplay, putting sort of their treatment together. Clearly, Patty Jenkins has seen this treatment herself and is adding her own touches of her treatment. If anything, I would assume maybe her directorial, how she certainly would maybe shoot the film and things like that in regards to putting their sort of first draft of a screenplay together. So I can easily see her being able to do something like that in regards to putting a treatment together, and maybe being able to still multitask, because then at that point they may not need to have her kind of come in or come back to do anything on the Star Wars film until they're kind of fully into pre-production, where she can kind of look at some of the models and the concept arts and see what they've kind of been establishing and things like that. So when it comes to Star Wars, I'm perfectly okay with this notion, just because of the fact that we are getting her to just focus on just the directing aspect of things. You do have somebody that is actually writing this film that can be a little bit more singularly focused. So when it comes to Star Wars, at least I am a little bit more comforted by this, to see exactly how far along the process it certainly is by this point already. I'm sure that they'll probably go through several different drafts, but I do love to see that the writer's ideas and concepts are coming together with how the director certainly wants to shoot the film and things like that. So planning wise, I think they're in pretty good hands here. Does that give you any other level of comfort, Indy?
For Star Wars, yeah, but it just shows me, what Disney is telling you to do it over there too. You know what I'm saying? But she's got Warner Brothers by the balls. She's gonna be able to do whatever she wants to do. And I'm reading through the comments. I'm disagreeing with some of these comments. I'm not even gonna put them up. But
it's okay. Okay.
Yeah, but Lloyd does want to say, all you're gonna see in the theater for your third try APlus is a bigger and better look at the mannequins that Wonder Woman saved on the road from the tank.
I mean, hey, who knows, man? Who knows? Probably, but I don't know. I'm a big movie guy, man. There's just something. This is just a different feeling that I get when I see movies on the big screen, type of thing. And again, I wonder if who's to say I wouldn't have given this movie a B-, seeing it on the big screen. Who certainly knows? But let me go over to you though, Stuart. You hear this idea of how far along she is with the treatment. Somebody, you do screenplays, or at least you write scripts and things like that. You're a movie guy yourself. How do you like the sound of what she's saying here in regards to Star Wars?
And knowing that someone else is writing the script definitely kind of gets me more excited. Not because she's a terrible writer, but more because like you yourself have mentioned, she has written really good scripts in the past. But it means that at least for this project, her main focus will be on directing and just making sure whatever is written on the page looks really good, like on screen. So essentially, because that's going to be her one focus, I think she's going to do a really good job of it, just like she did for the first Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah, I'm hoping she's able to capture what she did with the first Wonder Woman film as well. So we'll see, guys. We'll definitely go ahead and keep you guys posted and updated as we get more details on Patty Jenkins. But she's about to be a busy woman in Hollywood for the next several years, man. And if I feel like if studios haven't locked her down, they probably won't lock her down for quite some time. So we'll definitely see where Patty Jenkins winds up taking her career. But guys, we want to know your thoughts. Wonder Woman number 3 has been fast tracked. Patty Jenkins is coming back to write or direct. How do you write and direct? How do you certainly feel about that? And how do you feel about the idea of her multitasking with so many projects on her plate? Do you think she could? Do you think she can pull it off? Go ahead and certainly let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that out of the way, we are going to go ahead and jump over to our next topic here. We'll definitely stay in the realm of DC a little bit, but we're going to transition over to some television talk because television series for DC are currently in production right now. We know when it comes to the CW, a lot of our shows are going to be dropping this upcoming January here within the next less than 2 weeks, honestly. I know the Batwoman's supposed to be making her return that Indy's going to be doing reviews on, so certainly look out for that. We've got Black Lightning returning here pretty soon also. But we have to remember there are going to be DC television shows on other networks and other streaming services as well. Since they've shut down DC Universe, a lot of those original series have been moved over to HBO Max. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we have our first intel here in regards to Titans Season 3, ladies and gentlemen. This comes to us from comingsoon.net, saying that HBO Max's Titan Season 3 has officially wrapped production for 2020. Clearly, this was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it says Titan cinematographer Boris Majsovsky took to Instagram to share a new behind-the-scenes photo confirming the last day of filming in 2020 on the upcoming 3rd season of HBO Max's newly added DC series featuring Kieran Walters, Jason Todd. So you get to see the Instagram photo here. Looks like this was probably one of their last shots of the entire season. Yeah, guys, Titan Season 3 has officially wrapped. It is headed our way and coming to HBO Max, guys. So look, you hear production has wind up being completed on this series. Are you guys really pumped for Season 3? You have your well, I should say when it comes to Stuart, I know his level of expectation probably isn't too high. You're not the biggest fan.
Put that last photo back up right quick. The full team photo right there. Why does Beast Boy look like he's pissed off they didn't do his powers right?
He's like, why am I in the back?
That is nuts. It's just little stuff like that I pick out. Like, man, he really looks like he's not happy to be on.
And you could even see the original Starfire costume. Also, remember at the end of season 1, I believe they actually made up a Starfire costume for her. We never got the opportunity to see it debut. But yeah, it looks like this is probably a photo from maybe the end of season. Well, no, it can't be, because that's a Nightwing costume he's rocking.
Well, yeah, they had a Nightwing costume for him at the end of season 1 as well.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah, it's all the costumes that we never got to see in season 1's finale.
Yeah, I'm glad they waited.
Yeah, I'm glad they waited too.
No, I'm honestly, my expectation for this, especially where they left off last season, is high. I'm a little upset about some of the people that we lost on the show as far as like deaths go, because I really thought that they would have prominent storylines going into the future. But it was hard trying to juggle all these characters with all these different personalities when you didn't have many episodes to start off with. So this would have been something that would have been better done if, like Hawk and Dove and different individuals had their own shows, and then it ended up being Titans later on. It's another thing where I feel like they went too quick into the thing. But to be honest with you, other than a couple of things they done wrong, like Trigun and stuff like that, I honestly enjoy the show. It's not a Titan show. It should just be called Nightwing and Friends, but I really enjoy this show.
Yeah, I mean, it is a show that I enjoy. I mean, I definitely know that I harp on it just because of the fact that I can clearly see the flaws in the show and just want this show to certainly do better. That's why I critique it the way that I do. But season 1, I certainly didn't mind. I enjoyed it for the most part. I thought the finale was kind of weak. I honestly really enjoyed the Deathstroke and Dick Grayson stuff from season 2. I thought that was some of the strongest aspects, even the Connor Kent stuff that we wind up seeing from Superboy. But like the second half of the season just kind of went off the rails and just kind of lost itself for me. So when I think of season 3, one of the things that I personally would love to see the most is just somebody coming in that knows how to handle a huge ensemble cast, people that a writing team that knows how to give everybody the shine that they deserve, but also keeping the storylines just really tight and neat and concise, because it just feels as though whoever was writing or whoever the showrunner is for the show just doesn't know how to handle all these characters at once, or to really kind of give them a very sort of compelling story where it's kind of all connected, if you will. So by the time we get to the finale, it's all over the place of them having to kind of wrap up everybody's storylines, if you will. So it does tend to feel like a jumbled mess towards the end. But I do really want to see this show succeed. So it's been an okay series for me, one that I walk away enjoying for the most part, but I definitely have my gripes with it for sure, and just want to see it continue to do a little bit better. Indy, you had your hand up for a second.
Yes. So basically what you're saying, and this might make Stuart smile. So what you're telling me is take the writers and the directors from Legends and move them over to Titans.
I mean, I don't even watch Legends anymore. I've completely fallen off because this show is definitely just doing its own thing. I don't necessarily know if I need that sort of level of writing, but if they know how to handle ensemble cast, maybe. I just don't need that comedy fact, like that all-on comedic factor. Definitely give me some lightheartedness, because that's what I wouldn't mind, some lightheartedness thrown into this show. But as long as it's not just the over-the-top comedy aspect, I'm perfectly okay. I would be perfectly okay with that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think my whole thought though with us going into season 3, first of all, I love Legends for what it is. That writing would not work in a show like Titans at all. The handling of character part, I do agree with you with. That is like a weakness that Titans has, and I think that, if they had someone from Legends kind of helping out with that aspect of the series, that would actually be very helpful. But if they try to bring in the tone from Legends and the Titans, I don't
want that. I definitely don't want that tone. But I don't like that. I don't mind some lightheartedness. I just don't want that full-on tone at all.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like there were 5 or 6 episodes in season 2. It was episodes 2 through I want to say episode 7 or 8 that were actually solidly written, that I actually really did enjoy in Titan season 2. But then I think it was immediately after Dick Grayson comes out about how Deathstroke or how Jericho actually died. That was where the show just kind of went from here to I really hated the second half of season 2, and I just didn't like any of season 1 at all. So, but because of those episodes in season 2, I feel like there are talented writers on Titans that really know what they're doing. So I will still give season 3 another shot, see how I feel about it. But if I feel the same way about season 3 as I did with seasons 1 and 2 at the end of the day, I'm not going to be watching season 4. So season 3 is kind of the show's last chance to win me over, essentially.
Superboy had no reason being introduced this season at all.
And I didn't mind the introduction. What I minded was the fact that he got introduced and then Homeboy's immediately on the team or thrown into the storyline aspect. I wouldn't have minded if he had his origin story and then went off. You know what I'm saying? And then we revisit the character episode 5 or next season. But they literally have this guy walk down the street and all of a sudden he bumps into the Titans and saves Robin as he's falling down out of a random building. Come on, man. It's just too on the nose and too precise sometimes. But great story for Connor Kent. I loved his episode, but after that it's just guys, what are we doing here? It honestly felt like. But I agree with you, Indy. His intro, or at least his storyline, should have been focused on at least next season.
Yeah, it felt like the only reason he was introduced to give Beast Boy something to do. Honestly, because Beast Boy was a babysitter for the entire rest of the season.
Because then you're right. Because then they threw in Cadmus storyline in there also, and just bogged down everything they were working on.
Just give them more money so they could do Beast Boy powers right. You won't have this issue.
Seriously.
They really don't know what to do with it.
I think that's another one of my issues, is because I think they try to film it on location to give it the illusion of it being a really high budget show, which I mean it is because of the fact that they're shooting on location, but it also means that you kind of sacrifice special effects in doing so. So what you end up having is even though you have characters like Beast Boy and Starfire and Raven who are supposed to have their own unique special superpowers, they end up on the show just being utilized the same way that they utilize Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, where most of the time they're just doing fist fighting. They're very rarely like actually using their powers.
Yeah. Or they spend all the money on the spaceship.
Yeah, so I kind of wish they would spend I wish they would spend the money on studios and making it so you can have some fun, Stargirl type fight scenes going on rather than location, because I don't think location when it comes to a television show is as important as people think it is.
No, you could do it.
Oh, go ahead.
You could do it just like Swamp Thing and keep it simple and have it look amazing. That's literally all you have to do.
Because I remember season 1 when we saw the Starfire spaceship, we were like, "Oh, there's season 1's budget. that's where all the budget went." So yeah, we'll see what happens. I haven't really. I thought season 2 special effects weren't that bad for the most part. But yeah, my thing is just wrapping your hands around just the storyline for all these characters. I really just need them to tighten the storyline up a bit. Tighten this story. Let's see what I did there. Tighten
the story up. If they don't have a budget, season 3 is going to be horrible because part of season 3 is supposed to take place in space.
I mean, who knows where this season is going to take place, man? I think that would be cool. I do want to see Coriander's storyline come into focus along with her sister a little bit more.
It better not be one episode neither. It better not be something. Oh, we're done. Back to Earth.
No. What they'll do is they'll stretch it the whole entire season, but they'll also bog the season down with 2 or 3 other huge storylines that they got to focus on also. So
I was going to say it might be the case of season 3 comes around and they decide they want to go in a very different storyline, but then they have the same thing as the previous season where they're like, oh, well, we did technically set this up, so we should probably follow through with it. And then that's what kind of brings season 3 down. It's the fact that they want to do like their new storyline that they were going to focus on, but they also still need to have the Starfire storyline like clashing in with it. And that's where season 2 was a mess. And that's where if they do the same thing in season 3, it's going to be a big mess as well.
So the same person writing The Flash is writing Titans.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I think in an extent, like Greg Berlanti does have some say in both shows to an extent.
I want to say Akiva Goldsman, I believe, is the showrunner for Titans, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I will also I did have something off the top of my head I was going to say too in regards to this, and I just lost it though. Oh, I think this is the time, guys, to be honest with you. I think this is the time where Titans should start building off some spinoffs. Whether that be Hawk and Dove or whether that be something else. I really would love to see them at least starting to do some spin-offs out of this, because I feel like if this season doesn't do as well as I'm hoping that it does, who's to say that this isn't its last season, and maybe giving us something fresh with a spin-off of some of these characters, or at least if you want to do that, at least start cutting into this roster a little bit. Because I do think that the roster is maybe a little bit too big. Some people you think you can do their own adventures on or their own spinoffs. Let's go ahead and give them their own thing, take them away from Titans so that this Titans group gets a little bit smaller, maybe going into a 4th season or something. But regardless, I would like to see some spinoffs starting to grow out of this.
And please give us characters that Dick Grayson hasn't slept with.
No, we're getting Barbara, man. I'm pretty sure we're getting Barbara this year probably. So maybe that's somebody else he gets to talk about.
Yep, of course. And then on top of that, with Titan season 3, when it comes to kind of writing some of the dialogue, and I'm not saying this because I have an issue with people swearing. I probably swear the most on this show. But man, they need to cut back on the F-bombs, because if you're not going to use it for comedy, and you're trying to take your writing seriously, it just sounds so bad. With Doom Patrol, it works because like that show actually is supposed to be funny at a lot of times. So whenever you hear Robot Man, dropping his F-bombs, I'm always laughing. But in Titans, when you have Dick Grayson dropping F-bombs because he's trying to be all dark and edgy, it just comes out as even campier than Doom Patrol.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind the F-bombs.
Really?
I'm kind of cool.
I don't know. I just think the way they drop them in the show, it's just so bad. I don't know. It just never feels natural. Let me put it that way.
No, I understand.
The initial F Batman that they had that was in the trailer was weird. and like off balance. But when you saw the context of where Dick was standing at when you started to watch the series and see, you understood why he felt like that.
Mhm.
I honestly feel like you'll see less of it, but
I hope
it
so.
it didn't bother me because of what they were going through at the time. And you know, when you don't have time to be eloquent with your speech and say how you're feeling, sometimes a nice F-bomb just translates into, look, I'm tired of all this, you know what I'm saying, BS.
It expresses your true
So-
emotions the proper way. Yeah,
Yeah.
a good
And
F-bomb is.
you have it right on the sometimes it is the better answer. Yes, I do agree. Like for that particular scene within the context of the episode, that definitely made sense. I'm just saying, like throughout season 1 and 2, there were just times where you feel like the characters didn't need to drop one, but they do anyways because they're like, we got to get that damn MA rating somehow.
I get you. Yeah. But hey, guys, listen, we want to know your thoughts. We certainly have our thoughts going into Titans season 3. No release date as of yet as to when the season will in fact be dropping, but season 3 has at least wrapped production, so it certainly is on our way on HBO Max, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely make sure you have your subscription to go ahead and catch this next season. All right, guys, let's go ahead and transition over to our next story, one that I'm actually really eager to talk about. I don't feel like we talk about Alita Battle Angel enough here on the show, to be perfectly honest with you. Alita Battle Angel was definitely a film that I remember going to see, that when I saw the trailers, I didn't know exactly how to react to them, but I knew I was interested. You know what I mean? I remember opening day of Alita Battle Angel, I just thought to myself, you know what? I want to go to the movies. And I just happened to see that it was out. I went and sat down, watched this film, a film by Robert Rodriguez. I believe he might have worked on the script with either James Cameron, or James Cameron executive produced it. But I actually walked out of Alita Battle Angel really surprised with what I got. If you haven't had the opportunity to check out this film, please go ahead and do so. It's one that I walked away really enjoying. I thought the characters were great. The special effects were off the top. And just when it's a storyline that's coming from Robert Rodriguez and James Cameron, I honestly feel like you just can't go wrong, honestly. So not the most perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination, but damn, did it certainly surprise me, and one that I've certainly recommended to a lot of people. But unfortunately, it just did not make that type of money in the box office to really warrant a sequel. I mean, coming pretty close to making a certain amount of money, but not enough to really push them forward to go ahead and release it. So does that mean that an Alita Battle Angel 2 is completely out of the question? Not quite. Not quite, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and jump over to this article from comingsoon.net. This comes to us from Coming Soon. It says Robert Rodriguez says that Alita Battle Angel 2 could happen on Disney Plus. It says in a recent interview with Forbes, director Robert Rodriguez revealed he thinks Alita Battle Angel 2 could happen at Disney Plus, which is clearly good news for fans of the underappreciated James Cameron produced sci-fi action film. This is what Robert Rodriguez says. He says, I think anything is possible. Disney brought Fox, and they have Disney Plus. So that is worth the conversation. I know other people would love to see another, and I would love to do another one. As far as where it would go or how it would be made, I think streaming has opened up many opportunities such as sequels. It's already a pre-sold concept. It's already got a built-in audience that wants to see it, and it's delivered to them in a way that's the easiest for them to consume. So, it's not a bad idea, according to Robert Rodriguez. So Robert does bring up some good points. You know, we have really talked about here on APlus Hero Report just how streaming is going to affect the movie industry moving forward in regards to maybe some content and new movies that certainly want to go ahead and be made. So I'm glad that Robert Rodriguez brings that up, that now that we have Disney Plus and these streaming services as additional options to put some of these films on, like we just talked about with Walter Hamada, right? The riskier films that you're worried about, you have a streaming service now where you can put them on. He also makes a great point that it does have a fan base already, right? So there are people that are already sold on this particular movie. You don't have to necessarily put it out into movie theaters and worry about it, bombing at the box office, especially if you have other movies that you're doing that's financially making you plenty of money. You could use that money towards going to make another Alita sequel if you certainly wanted to. So I do feel like the possibilities are probably there more than it's ever been, honestly. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and hoping that we do get ourselves an Alita Battle Angel 2, especially from Robert Rodriguez. I mean, I feel like the guy has a fantastic filmography. He just went ahead and tackled Boba Fett. I think he is supposed to be an executive producer on the Boba Fett spinoff series as well. So this guy certainly knows what he's doing. So let me pass this over to you guys. Let me go over to you first, Indy. Have you checked out the first Alita Battle Angel movie? And if so, what do you think about Robert Rodriguez's chances on us getting a second one? Do you think it's a possibility?
Not only did I check out the movie day and date when it was released in theaters, I'm also a huge fan of the manga by Yukito Kishiro that he did. So I was already aware when the movie hit, it was something that I wanted to check out. Even they had like a 1990 series that was like an animated, you know what I'm saying, series, and then they had like a movie in like I think 93 they did like an adaptation of it. So I was already on it, and I was totally impressed by, you know what I'm saying, the translation of it to film and the way it was done. So I was happy for it. And it was something that I touted as being a movie that didn't get enough recognition, especially in the superhero based everything that was out. Because I think like Captain Marvel or something was out, you know what I'm saying? Like
around that same time.
Around that same time. And it didn't get enough acclaim for everything that it was. And I am 110% for part 2. And if it was and it would be smart of Disney to do something like that and then release it on their platform, because why would you let the competition have something like that? As I feel like Disney should make a push for more anime eccentric, or, you know what I'm saying, anime related stuff or manga related stuff to start off with.
I would think that would be really cool too. And yeah, I would love to see Disney kind of tap into that a little bit. And you going back to the idea of the manga for it, there's plenty of stories certainly still to be told for this, right? Like you definitely get the idea that once Alita Battle Angel ends, that there is still an unfinished business, if you will, or a huge story that they still have to tell in a sequel. So I'm really hoping that James Cameron and them have something really kind of put together, because I do think I do think Disney Plus is a great opportunity for them, and I like that idea, Indy. I really would like to see them tackle some other past mangas or anime and kind of adapt them for Disney Plus. I think that would be really cool if they have their own niche, if you will, when it comes to that. But what do you think, Stuart? Have you checked out the first Alita? And if so, how do you like the idea of maybe a sequel possibly coming to Disney Plus at some point in time?
I don't like the idea of it going to Disney Plus. I would want this type of a sequel to be in theaters. I think with that kind of production that you're putting on it, it needs to be seen on the big screen. It
did look great on the big screen.
Yeah, I honestly didn't see the first one in theaters, and it's one of my biggest regrets, because that was definitely a movie, like after watching it, finally I'm like, hey, this isn't bad. If only I'd like gotten to see these amazing looking sets and action scenes, like, you know, on a big television or on a big theater screen and everything. So I think it going to Disney Plus is a terrible idea, but I think the idea of them continuing the Alita series would be a very smart idea, like Indy was saying. Like not only so like Disney can start producing like more, not only so they can like kind of prove that they can start producing more live action anime movies and have them be good, but also because they're going to, my prediction is pretty soon they're going to be having some competition with Sony, who already has like the licensing to do a lot of anime movies. And I feel like that's going to be playing out sometime in the near future. So this would be a good way for Disney to get ahead of the game, essentially, to show, hey, we already started the trend of good live action animes, even though technically this was a Fox film. We now own the first good live action American made anime.
That's right, because Sony did purchase Funimation, right?
No, they own Funimation. They own Funimation already. They just purchased Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll.
I think it was like either 2.1 or 1.2. I might have the numbers for $1 billion. dollars.
Okay, yeah. So maybe Disney does have to start kind of getting a foothold in that realm, because I could easily see Sony trying to adapt some of these into some either live action or big CGI fests a little bit. Like that's one thing I absolutely loved Alita Battle Angel for. First off, the performances were absolutely great. Rose Salazar did an incredible job, I thought, as Alita. But then you had Christopher. Oh my goodness, Christoph Waltz, who played the scientist, her father, if you will, in the movie. Also, just incredible talent that they had all around. Mahershala Ali was in it. Also, I didn't expect. I honestly forgot that he was in the film until I saw him. So a really great casting, really great storyline. Honestly, if you haven't checked out Alita, please go ahead and do so. I know that there are some. They even have like a hashtag Alita Army out there on Twitter that have been pushing for this, like to release the Snyder Cut. All these fandoms have their own hashtag now at this point in time, but they've definitely have been hitting me up when I announced, when I wind up posting this, and anytime I post anything Alita related. So there really is a huge following here. Like for me, I love the idea of it being on Disney Plus. I know it's not for everybody, but I still think that, especially a film that, especially if it didn't do that well in the box office the first time around, but that there's a following to see it again, I do think Disney Plus would be a safe place to put it at. I mean, especially if it's going to help your subscriber base, if you will, continue to grow, why not go ahead and do something along those lines? But just my thought. But I get some people that don't want to see it on the small screen, because it did do fantastically well when I saw it on the big screen. I thought it translated beautifully, honestly.
Yeah, we got Dino Knights here just saying something. That's kind of, he said Disney Plus is overrated.
I'm gonna agree with him right now, though. I don't want to say overrated, but I mean, is it overrated? I mean, I feel like it kind of is as of right now. Like for me, it's probably in my top 3, maybe my top 4, but I wouldn't put, I feel like, I know it's got The Mandalorian there and a bunch of Marvel stuff, don't get me wrong. But for me, my top 3 right now is Netflix, HBO Max, and then maybe Disney Plus. I was trying to think if I use any other streaming app right now, and I really don't. So Disney Plus is probably in my 3.
I got a reverse thought about this, and this is because a lot of the stuff that I grew up on, Tailspin, Chip and Dale, Darkwing Duck, you know what I'm saying, all that stuff that I'm going back and I'm revisiting, there was no way for me to be able to watch that before, you know what I'm saying, and having it on here. And then when I choose my rankings, I go by the amount of content I'm getting for the price.
I get you.
So you know what I'm saying? Like I can't call it overrating. Like if that's the case for me, then what I'm paying for Netflix is a little over. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff starts feeling like it's overrated when I'm paying for less.
Yeah, no, I definitely get you. And I also think it's also just depends on what we want out of our streaming services, right? Like for me, I'm a huge fan of original content. Like I want to see new stuff all the time. So it's like, that's why I probably lean heavily on Netflix. HBO Max, I feel like, has a brand new original series like every week or every several weeks afterwards. They wind up having something new. Whereas Disney Plus, as of right now, hey, The Mandalorian is pretty much all I got as of right now. So I'm more of an original content type of guy when it comes to my streaming service. So that's probably why I have it up there. But if you're like a library type of person, if you love just how much content is on something, then yeah, I mean, I'm not fronting on Disney Plus because they have a ton of great content, but it's just stuff that I've seen before, like I like that constant push of original stuff. So I totally get where you're coming from, Indy, for sure.
Yeah. Plus I watched Soul.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. They did drop Soul too.
Yeah.
But guys, listen, we want to know your thoughts in regards to this. Alita Battle Angel, Robert Rodriguez says he would love to be able to do a second one for Disney Plus. Would you like to see a second one? Do you like the idea of it going to Disney Plus? Definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, Indy?
Lots of stuff on it. I'm kidding here. APlus always talks about Disney Plus, so they make it overrated.
Hey, some of the stuff we talk about comes from Disney Plus. We can't help it. We got a bunch of Marvel shows that are going to be coming on here soon, So if we didn't talk about Disney Plus, I think we would be doing it a disservice, man. We're trying to make sure that you guys are caught up with everything we got coming. Disney Plus has got coming on, So, all right. But other than that, guys, let's go ahead and move on. We got two more topics that we're going to go ahead and discuss here before we jump into our live viewer questions here. So, the next topic we're going to go ahead and break into. Let's talk. Let's talk some Rocky franchise, should we? Or maybe not even Rocky franchise anymore. This is its own Creed franchise at this particular point in time. We wind up having Ryan Coogler, who wind up helming the first Creed with Sylvester Stallone. They did a fantastic job. Got the opportunity to see Michael B. Jordan playing the son of why did I almost say Evander Holyfield? I don't know why I just almost said Evander. Apollo Creed. Yeah, I don't know why I almost said Evander Holyfield. Apollo Creed. Michael B. Jordan playing his son in Adonis. And I got to tell you, man, this is definitely a franchise that I have continued to fall in love with, man. I think the first Creed is incredible film. The second one, still a solid entry for sure. But we definitely are getting ourselves a Creed 3, ladies and gentlemen. But it's been kind of quiet in that regards to who's going to be either writing or directing that film. Well, we finally do have ourselves a little bit of brand new information in regards to just that. This comes to us from comicbook.com saying Creed 3, Michael B. Jordan has officially been set to go ahead and direct. So it said earlier this year, it was rumored that Michael B. Jordan would be directing Creed 3, the next film in the Rocky spinoff series, in which Jordan also stars as Adonis Creed. Now, Tessa Thompson, who plays Bianca Taylor in the series, confirms that Jordan will direct the third film. She also confirmed the news while speaking to MTV's News, Josh Horowitz, teasing that she plans to use Jordan's Sexiest Man Alive title as ammunition for when he works with her as a director, with Thompson telling him to dial down the sexiness. So she says, so yeah, they are in fact going to be doing a Creed 3, and Michael B. Jordan is set to actually go ahead and direct this film. I honestly love this decision. I know I usually come on here every once in a while, especially consider. Oh, hey, Stuart, how did I get your face up there? There we go. I know I do tend to be the person that when it comes to first time directors, because this will be Michael B. Jordan's first time directing the film, if I'm not mistaken. Let me actually go ahead and just double check that for you guys. But I do believe that this is his first film that he's been doing. I do tend to be nervous when it comes to first time directors, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm actually not that worried about Michael B. Jordan in this sense. Maybe that's a little bit hypocritical of me. Yeah, I don't see him as a writer, as a, you know what? Here we go. Director. Let's see. Yeah, just one credit to his name, Creed 3. So Michael B. Jordan has not directed anything in his life. But you know what? Coming at the end of a franchise, or I should say the third film out of a franchise, I feel like this is a really good sort of safety net for Michael B. Jordan to be a part of. He's had the opportunity to not only work side by side with Sylvester Stallone, but also Ryan Coogler over these past two films. So if anybody has gained a wealth of knowledge into how you go about doing this, Michael B. Jordan certainly has. And you're really not putting a ton of pressure on this film or on Michael B. Jordan, because this is sort of the third installment of the franchise. You've already got two solid films out of it so far. I feel like you could probably take that risk on the tail end of a trilogy. Who knows if we wind up having more Creed movies after this? Maybe it's going to be Adonis's son that we follow in Creed 4. Who certainly knows at this rate? But the fact that it's Michael B. Jordan, the fact that he's works so closely with so many directors linked with the Creed franchise, I think this is a good launching off point for him. I'm really intrigued to see where Michael B. Jordan's career certainly goes. We know that he's going to be producing a Warner Brothers movie for DC. Now the possibility of him directing. I really love seeing the trajectory in Jordan's career here, and I think he's set himself up really nicely to continue to grow not only as an actor, but really dive into the world of Hollywood a little bit more and just expand his expertise. And anytime I get the opportunity to see actors turn into directors, I always think it's a great career move for them, and really interested to see what his vision for his character is certainly going to be going forward. So count me in. Again, I know I'm the type of person that gives first-time directors a ton of crap or a lot of worry, but in this case, third film, Michael B. Jordan, yeah, bring it on, man. I'm all for it. But let me throw this over to you first, Stuart. What are your thoughts in regards to Michael B. Jordan directing Creed 3? You think it's a good fit, or does it worry you also?
God, have they not seen the Rocky franchise? He's supposed to wait till the 5th movie to direct. God, no, but in all seriousness, yeah, no, I do think this is a smart move for him if he's doing what I think he's doing, because he's going to be executive producing the Static Shock movie. And I'm assuming if he's producing it, he probably has like plans to want to direct like future sequels for it, and then maybe other DC properties as well. It's probably not just going to be Static Shock. More than likely, if DC's bringing him in as a producer for one movie, they're probably looking at him to help produce other films as well. So what I'm wondering is if this whole thing of him directing this is kind of his way to see if directing is really for him. Just a really good way to experiment with himself as a director, see what he can do. If it's something that the studio would be interested in as well. I'm sure like Warner Brothers is going to look at Creed 3 and go, hey, you either did a really good job or a terrible job, and that'll probably affect their decision on whether or not he directs future DC projects as well. At least that would be my guess on it. But yeah, I think because Creed has had 2 really solid movies before, I feel like the studio, which I believe is Creed, a Warner Brothers property.
I believe it is, yeah.
Yeah. So I believe at that point, they're like, you know what? You've already done a good job of acting as this character for the first 2 films. If we end up having accidentally one flop out of this trilogy, it's not the worst thing ever. So go ahead and direct it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there, especially Warner Brothers' point of view of it. What about you, Indy? I know you're on mute right now, but what are your thoughts in regards to Michael B. Jordan directing Creed 3? Are you a big fan of the idea or what?
Let me sip the Kool-Aid for a second. I honestly think I'm all for it. When I look at the films that he has been attached to as an actor, and just the directors and producers that he's been around, because he's been around names that we had never heard of before. You know what I'm saying? That end up making incredible movies. You know what I'm saying? He's grown from the branch of the likes of a Ryan Coogler. You know what I'm saying? Been with a Sylvester Stallone, people who have directed and produced their own movies. I think he's cut from the cloth to actually do something like this. I think he has a feel for what the movie needs to be, for what the essence of Creed is. And it's something where if he can go and take his character and make it his own, because I think one of the problems that I've had, although the first 2 Creed movies were very well written, like they were good movies. To me, you know what I'm saying, other than like maybe a couple of the Rockies, you know what I'm saying, like Creed is right up there and better than majority of the Rocky movies. I feel he has a better grasp on what his character needs to be and where he needs to go. You know what I'm saying? Because come on, let's be all honest. Sylvester ain't been where Michael B. Jordan has been. He's not going to feel how this character, you know what I'm saying, feels or where the character is from. So I'm looking forward to seeing what his viewpoint on how this character is handling success and fame and, you know what I'm saying, the win stuff. I'm looking to see where he goes out on, because I used to always love Rocky's perspective of, yeah, he was the underdog, he won, then he lost, you know what I'm saying, and him always trying to fight from the bottom. The thing that I love about Creed is that Adonis is always fighting from the top, you know what I'm saying, and trying to stay on top. So I'm looking forward to seeing what his outlook on this is going to be, and I'm all for it. And if he sucks at it, I know to tell him to get the hell away from my Static Shock movie.
Well, he's not directing anything as of yet. We just know he's as a producer.
I don't care.
Well, hopefully Michael B. Jordan will certainly come through for you, man.
Hopefully. I don't see him failing. I think he has the mind. I think he has the talent to get it done.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I think like the big thing is with actors, they're around directors for so long and they see the way that they not only direct them, but they see the way that they direct other people as well. So I do think being an actor, if you do eventually want to be a director, acting is a good way to start.
And even though it's not a movie and they're not movies, some of the best episodes of any of our CW shows that we watch are the actor directed episodes.
I see your point. Okay, very nice. Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. I'm looking forward to this. I think this is a great career move for Michael B. Jordan, honestly. And yeah, maybe his value is just going to continue to go up in Hollywood. But yeah, he's making some big moves right now. So I'm looking forward to a Creed 3. Whether this is going to be the wrapping up of a trilogy or not, who knows? Rocky went on to do what, 5 or 6 movies, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely, probably a plethora more of Creed movies certainly headed our way. But guys, we want to know your thoughts. You hear the idea of Michael B. Jordan confirmed to go ahead and direct Creed 3. Are you pumped for this idea? Do you want him away from the franchise? Go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the comments or the live chat below.
You bring up a funny point. I'm actually going to laugh if the amount of Creed sequels surpasses Rocky. That would be hilarious to me.
Well, what if it's just like one and all it is just his funeral? Like it's just one episode to go past.
I mean, if that number hits 7, you know, cool. That means they surpass Rocky, even if it's just like a 7th film where it's just a funeral. It's still more than Rocky.
a 1 hour throwaway film on HBO Max. Like those HBO Max is only 45 minutes long.
Literally creating spin-offs of all their movies.
I'd consider it, as the 7th film.
All right, guys. But yeah, definitely let it go ahead and know your thoughts down below. And we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We got one more story that I wanted to go ahead and post up and talk with you guys about. One that I want to have some fun with here because I just find this super intriguing. I had no idea that this happened. I think I brought it up on the Facebook once when we talked about this. And man, if you want to talk about the hate that filled these comment sections, not the hate, but definitely the trash thrown this man's way, I thought was pretty hilarious. So I wanted to go ahead and talk about this and really just dive deep in regards to this next story. You know, when it comes to directors, guys, M. Night Shymalan, see, I say the name, I just say the name and I get laughs. I mean, listen, M. Night Shymalan has definitely had his ups and downs in his career, for sure. I mean, for somebody that started off so incredibly well to maybe one of the biggest fall-offs that we've seen, I don't want to say necessarily a comeback player of the year, but definitely coming through with maybe 1 or 2 additional great movies afterwards. Like The Visit with the creepy old grandparents was pretty solid. You had what was it, Split, I believe it was, pretty solid film. Glass, some people so M. Night Shyamalan has had just that crazy ass roller coaster of a career. So it was really fascinating to me when I ran across this storyline from comicbook.com of wondering as to whether or not Marvel or DC has ever reached out to this guy before. And so, guys, let's just go ahead and dive into this article where they talk about just that. Because M. Night Shyamalan has, in fact, talked to both studios, Marvel and DC. And this is what he certainly had to say. So, again, this is from comicbook.com. M. Night Shyamalan could one day be putting his twists on the comic book movie as we know it. The writer-director has already fulfilled his own superhero dreams when he surprised everyone with an unbreakable sequel in the form of Split, which led to Glass, rounding out a trilogy. As he gears up to release the 2nd season of Servant with Apple TV, Shyamalan talked with comicbook.com in an interview where he was asked if he talked with studios about Marvel, DC, or other superhero properties for movie ideas. As it turns out, he has. This is exactly what M. Night Shyamalan winds up saying. He says, I've had many conversations over the years about many of the superheroes with many of the studios that own them and how I would want to approach it. He says, and it's one of those things that I think this is my style. If there were ever a situation, I mean, I would do it. I made my own comic book movie the way I wanted to make my comic book movie, but the minimalism, the insinuating, the not using CGI, all of that stuff is a very different language. So whenever we had those conversations in the past about XYZ person, it's your character or franchise, I get so nervous about like, hey, this is not what you would want me to do. To make it very quiet, tiny, and sort of introspective. So I do find it interesting that Shyamalan is really just kind of pointing out the idea that it maybe not necessarily his style of how he writes or directs his films may necessarily line up with how we've seen some of these Marvel and DC sort of movies of the past, or how we see them currently to today, right? The idea of M. Night really being more of a minimalist when it comes to his movies, not using a bunch of CGI. It's always very much more intimate, if you will, a little bit more of a smaller film compared to what we've come to know from these big budget sort of comic book films. So I do find it really intriguing that Marvel and DC has at least reached out to him, had some sort of conversations. But I do find it interesting also that M. Night doesn't point out the characters that they might have talked about before, right? It says, as comic book movies have shown a tremendous range in recent years, with titles like Logan and Joker breaking the mold and being focused heavily on one character, perhaps Shyamalan could come around to such an idea in the future. He says, in fact, it sounds like Shyamalan would need a bit of convincing to jump to any franchise, even if it were to make it his own original title with a continued story. He says, you never say never, but I don't believe I'd make a sequel. But the Unbreakable script in its entirety was essentially the 3 movies. So I would be really interested to see. I can't lie, guys, as much of a train wreck that this possibly could be, there is a part of me that's super intrigued to kind of know what character he might have been interested in tackling, what characters were maybe brought to his discussion, if you will. So let me throw this over to you guys here. I want to have a little bit of fun here. When you think of Marvel and DC characters, and you think of the style in which M. Night Shyamalan tells his story, regardless, while I think a lot of us want him to stay away, is there a particular character that you wouldn't mind trying to see him take his shot with? Either of you guys can go first, or if you want me to go first, I'll throw out one of my guys. It's up to you. Anybody, any takers? I got any takers?
I think that the smartest move for him to do, if he were to do either Marvel or DC, would be to stick to a horror type character. And essentially make sure it's a horror character that doesn't need special effects, because I think, and he even does point this out himself. So this isn't fully just me being an asshole. It is partially me quoting him as well. He doesn't direct special effects very well at all. You look at movies like After Earth and The Last Airbender, they are kind of a disaster just because you can tell that he very much knows how to work with the lower budget a lot better. That's why I think Split was a really good movie. I think him working with Blumhouse, I'd be intrigued to see what other movies he comes out with that studio, because I think the two of them paired together are a great combo. Like, I wasn't a fan of The Visit or Glass. Like, I thought both of them were pretty dumb in their own ways, but they had some cool ideas with it. And I do think that there is a lot of potential with him working with Blumhouse in particular. But when it comes to Marvel, and when it comes to Marvel specifically, I don't see it ever working, because Marvel has a very specific formula that they have with their movies. I don't see Marvel ever stepping back and being like, okay, we're just going to do this $60 million movie and it's going to be all horror based. And, so you can just go ahead and do what you want with this. I don't see that ever happening. DC, on the other hand, they already have been doing that for quite a bit by just kind of having very different styles with all their television shows and movies. So I think he would work a lot better with DC, maybe if he was doing not Justice League Dark, but characters from Justice League Dark. I could possibly see a Constantine movie coming from it, and even maybe Swamp Thing.
Oh, so those would be the two characters that you would see? Constantine and Swamp Thing would be your choices?
Yeah, one or the other, not both.
Gotcha, gotcha. I gotcha. What about you, Indy? You hear this idea. First off, Stuart, I do agree. If there is any camp that I think Shyamalan would really fit well into, it definitely give me DC all day. I think he could probably tap into some Marvel characters, yeah, but I just feel like his what he does as a director just seems like it would just fit DC kind of pretty well in that sense. What about you, Indy? Though you hear that studios have approached him. M. Night hasn't mentioned some of the characters that they've talked about. But if you could think of a character for M. Night to go ahead and tackle, who would you want to see him tackle? And just your thoughts on M. Night, just in general, having these talks with Marvel and DC.
I don't want him attached to any comic book movies, but I made a list. I have a list of characters that I'm pretty sure isn't on either one of your lists that I really feel that that he would do very well with. But for the fact that they're so obscure of characters, I don't know how they would. Well, it'll probably work with DC. I don't know how the hell they would even work into what's going on. You know what I'm saying, in the Marvel universe for a movie, maybe a Disney Plus television show.
Mm-hmm.
But my number one character, which I was trying to think about. Now I want to do a breakdown of this character since now we done came up with this question. Arcade, because Arcade is a character that brings himself akin to like the Saw franchise. You know,
wait, who? Arcade?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like Marvel's version of Jigsaw. You know what I'm saying? He's just like a sadist with an elitist twist. You know what I'm saying? Like a master manipulator. It'd just be something interesting to see how you could tie that story up. You know what I'm saying? What's going on and attach themselves to different things.
You know, I like that you're going. I like that you're going deep, Indy, because I feel like for Shyamalan, it's gonna have to be a deep character, like a deep cut. I feel like for him, you know what I mean?
Yeah. If it's gonna be a more known, popular character, I would love to see like an early origins of like Mr. Sinister. Something, you know what I'm saying, before he became actually, you know what I'm saying, who he is, you know what I'm saying, in the Marvel universe, or probably what led him to that, especially since we're gonna have mutants pop up somewhere or another. For DC, I do believe he could do Green Arrow well.
Ooh, Green Arrow, okay.
I do believe he'd be able to do Green Arrow well. I do believe he'd be able to do somebody like not DC related, but Hit Girl, and maybe a Matt Murdock, maybe be able to pull off a Daredevil. You know what I'm saying? If they wanted to bring that into, just because these are places where he doesn't have to deal with big special effects, and it'll be more of, you know what I'm saying, the story. I would love a dark Daredevil-esque movie, but with more of dealing with the fear of what the hand has coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, you actually don't know who they are, but come from the direction that it's this thing that they control everything through fear. You know what I'm saying? That people are scared to cross them. And, you know, it'd just be an interesting aspect to see how he will put his staple on that.
I like that, man. Some good solid choices there. I really like that. If I for me, yeah, I definitely would. I definitely think you have to go deep cut. When it comes to Marvel, if I had to think of one, you know, kind of going what you were saying with Daredevil, he's kind of done this a little bit with Split, but I wouldn't mind like something Moon Knight related. The idea of dealing with the split personality aspect of things for that character, he's kind of dabbled that in that in just a little bit. So I wouldn't mind seeing him kind of figure something out for a Moon Knight, whether it be a series or a movie itself, to kind of be able to do that low on the CG element, you know, still kind of street level. You can really focus on just more character development, if you will, and really sort of just that dark element of the Marvel underground, or just the streets of Hell's Kitchen, or whatever the case might be. So I think something like that might work. On DC side of things, I don't know why I get like Bizarro in my head. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing a interesting Bizarro take, just something really weird and creepy from M. Night. You know, maybe like this clone of Superman really thinking that he's a real person or something like that, and then slowly starts to realize that he's a failed experiment. I think there could be like a really weird Frankenstein sort of creepy horror vibe element to go with with the Bizarro type of thing. So I think that might be a little bit heavy in regards to maybe some CGI here and there, but I think you could probably do a really gritty, dark Bizarro movie if you wanted to. I was, just to piss off Indy, I was gonna say Batman Who Laughs, but I'm sure with a character like that, Indy's like, no, keep him away. But I was just thinking really dark and just a creepy sort of dark multiverse element of where M. Night could probably live in a creepy world like that. I think that might be up his alley. I was even gonna throw out a Lex Luthor film, since we wind up getting Joker on a more dark sort of solo film. I am wondering if M. Night could kind of showcase us a twisted mind of Lex Luthor in some way. But my lead would be Bizarro, and then maybe Moon Knight, and then we'll just kind of see from there. But I really love some of your guys' selections here. See, it's not that hard to try and find something for M. Night to belong to. We may not want him to touch it, but I do think there are some interesting characters that he might be able to work with.
Didn't say he do it well. Didn't say he do it well. He'll make a Green Arrow movie where Oliver never shoots an arrow.
Well, okay. The way you get around that is the same way they did it with Birds of Prey. You have, like, if you have a director that doesn't know how to direct action, you get a second unit director that does know how to direct action. And yeah, if you need an action scene in your Green Arrow movie, you have them step up for that. Whereas like M. Night Shyamalan just focuses on the actors themselves and focuses on, more of the story.
I would just love a Green Arrow movie where the whole time we see him on the island and he's just dealing with maybe like different hallucinations and things, like, tearing through his mind, just actually seeing the mental struggle that he went through, because we never see that. We always see him triumph over stuff. We never see like the actual mental anguish and everything he had to go through, in order to survive.
Here's what you do. A Green Arrow movie where, it's him in the city after being rescued from the island, but then you're constantly getting what you believe are flashbacks of the island. But then the big twist, Oliver Queen just doesn't fit in well with the city. So all those scenes that you see of him on the island were actually of him after he returned from the island. So in other words, rip off Lost.
Yeah, let's say M. Night Shyamalan twists. I can get that. I also like the idea and the notion that you picked Swamp Thing, Stuart. I think Swamp Thing would probably be a good, considering just getting a little bit of a tease here from the CW show, getting to see the green a little bit, the dark, some of the supernatural elements that take place in the swamp. I think that would be a pretty good one also, especially the struggle of the guy trying to come to terms with, him. Is he still alive? Is he just a plant now, type of thing? I think there could be some pretty interesting struggles there. So you're right, Indy. Whether or not they would be good is a completely different topic. But I do love the idea of him tackling some of these characters. I do think there is a world out there where M. Night Shyamalan and DC have put together a movie. So I want to see one, man. I want to see one. I don't care if it's hit or miss. I want to see an M. Night DC film.
Or do we let him just redo Dick Tracy?
I don't know if I want him near Dick Tracy. No, I don't want him near Dick Tracy. I'm all for bringing back a Dick Tracy, but I don't know if I want M. Night there. Too bright of a character for me.
No, that's somebody. I was just saying, because I was arguing with somebody. They wanted earlier at work. They wanted Ryan Reynolds to come back and play Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy. Yo, I might be open for that. I might be open for that. Yeah, I might be open for that.
He done already ruined Pikachu for me. You gonna let him ruin Dick Tracy for me?
But listen, at the end of the day, though, we certainly want to go ahead and know your thoughts. We know M. Night's career has been up or down. Let's not pretend that this guy hasn't put out some bangers in his career, though. All right. So he definitely has been up and down all over the place. So I get the idea of not everybody wanting him to touch some of their favorite fandoms. But I thought this would be just a really interesting topic to discuss and see if there are any characters that might fit him pretty well.
Bro, did you see what he did to The Last Airbender?
No. I have yet to fully watch that movie through because I can't get through it. I just can't get through it.
I never thought Yeah, I never thought anything would be worse than Dragon Ball Evolution.
But see, my thing is like, I don't even know if that's a movie that even fit M. Night. You know what I mean? Like, why is he even on that movie in the first place?
He watched an episode with his daughter, and he's like, "This is the greatest show ever." And he pitched the idea to Nickelodeon for a live-action movie, and Nickelodeon was like, "Oh, a Hollywood director pitching something to us. Yeah, we'll give it to him." But yeah, no, it's because of that movie and After Earth where I just kind of realized he should not handle movies with a big budget. And again, I'm not being an asshole because I'm literally quoting him from that same, interview that you were talking about. Like he himself mentioning that he wouldn't want to direct like high budget films like that. And I think it's because he's tried it and it hasn't worked out in his favor. So yeah,
let's give him a small budget. 60 million.
60 million. Yeah. Let him do a horror film with $60 million. I'll watch it.
After Earth was not M. Night's fault. After Earth was Will Smith's fault for trying to put his kids in everything.
That was the Will Smith's kids age, the era of Will Smith's kids. Okay.
Yeah. His son can't act. That's all it is. His son was horrible throughout that whole movie. The plot of the movie was cool. The script wasn't bad. The fact that it was billed as a Will Smith blockbuster is what killed that movie.
Possibly, man. Possibly. All right, guys. So other than that, we definitely want to know your thoughts in regards to M. Night. Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. What character would you like to see Shymalan go ahead and tackle if it ever were to come to fruition? Definitely go ahead and let us know. And with that, we're going to transition over to some of your live viewer questions, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Let me go ahead and jump over. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the email account. And then if you guys want to go ahead and follow up with any of the comments that we might have, feel free to go ahead and do that. So let me pull this up. APlusopinions@gmail. Oh, we got a couple questions, guys. Here we go. This is some of them from last week also. Are there plans? This is from Jessica Friedman. Are there any plans to have any Batman villains show up on Batwoman? And would you like to see, and I'm assuming who would you like to see? Or what would you like to see on the new we'll skip that question because it's not clear enough. But are there any plans to have any Batman villains show up on Batwoman? Have they had any in season 1, guys?
Just Hush.
I have heard that the Scarecrow is supposed to have a big part in season 2.
Okay, yeah. I'd be down for that. So look out for that. AJ, a couple questions. This is from last week also. In Ant-Man, how did Pat's wife survive being stuck in the quantum realm for 30 years? Did they explain that in the movie Ant-Man 2? How Michelle Pfeiffer's character survived all those years?
Not fully, but I think they're waiting for the third one to have an explanation for that.
And also remember, time does move differently in the quantum realm. So while it was 30 years for them, it was a shorter time period for Michelle. So we'll see. He also says, what were your guys' reactions when the Fast and the Furious first debuted in theaters? Do you guys ever remember seeing Fast and the Furious in theaters?
I saw the first movie in the theater, and I thought it was the most amazing thing on the planet.
Like I was
totally intrigued by it. Paul Walker coming from, where he came from, and seeing him on the big screen, being introduced to, a young Vin Diesel, those beautiful, beautiful women in that movie. It was the scene at the time. Like I went out and bought myself an 88 Mustang and tried to soup it up. You know what I'm saying? Nice. When the Fast and Furious came out, it was a culture changer. We hadn't seen that. We hadn't seen nothing like that on film for us. You know what I'm saying? Like people had Mad Max and different stuff like back in the day. That was for like our generation, like, ooh, cars. And that's when everybody went out, got their little souped up foreign and was riding up and down the street with lights and stuff on their car. And it's a franchise that's still the one franchise that has adapted and still been moving forward and changing with the times.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there for sure.
For me, I think I only saw for the longest time, the first movie. And it wasn't until the sixth Fast and Furious movie came out where I finally kind of go, okay, I thought this movie was about street racing. How the hell did we get to here? So that's what made me kind of go back and actually binge the entire series, was seeing the sixth film. But Yeah, and then like afterward, yeah. So I think like the franchise as a whole definitely was kind of, I thought the first one was good, and I really like Tokyo Drift, but I thought like 2 was really bad. Like Too Fast, Too Furious was so bad. The fourth one was a weird film because it was like it tried to like kind of still have like it tried to have like a dark tone, but it also tried to introduce like kind of more campy elements. So I feel like it wasn't until Fast Five when they finally knew what they wanted to do with the franchise. Anyways.
So it wasn't until The Rock saved the film the franchise.
Well, it wasn't until The Rock came in that the franchise felt like a consistent series. Whereas before The Rock, every movie almost felt like it could have been from a completely different franchise.
They were trying to fix all the plot holes they opened up with 4. Like it seemed like with 4, they were trying to fix everything that they messed up in continuity with Vin Diesel's character not being there. Everything goes on. They're trying to, and then they came with 5, and they knew exactly where they were going to go from then on. Mm. So yeah, but it's as much crap as it gets. It's a great franchise. It's a franchise I know a lot of people wanted their names attached to.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, even I want to say Tyrese. Even he was butthurt when The Rock came on board because he wanted more shine, right? Tyrese wanted more screen time, and he's like, "No, you bringing in The Rock, taking away my screen time."
And then he was like, he gets his own movie. How come I don't get my own? Because that's
I thought he was, from what I had understand, he just felt like The Rock abandoned everyone, and that's why he was pissed about the or the spinoff.
He was mad that their movie got pushed back for a spinoff because they were used to dropping like every summer, and they got pushed back a year because The Rock's movie was coming out. And he was like, he didn't feel like they should have been moved as a family because he was like, they come together, they got this thing that they do, and they got moved. But it started with the beef that The Rock and Vin Diesel had with each other. And because they didn't even talk to each other on set for the longest, and would film their scenes apart and everything like that. But when The Rock comes in with this production company that he has, is making all this money, and that man comes in with a winning streak of his own, like, I've been outperforming your movies, then I come back to your movie and you're back to being $1 billion franchise. Like, he deserves to be able to do it. And then he went and did that spinoff, and that spinoff went crazy.
Yeah, it did. Him and Tyrese have made up, though. According to Tyrese, they have been talking again because I know there was some animosity between him and The Rock, but they have made buddy, so they're good now.
You have to, especially when The Rock's production company is attached to, it feels like every movie that's coming out.
Let's see here. He also says, who are your favorite characters from both Marvel and DC and would like to be adapted in the future? I mean, for me, Spider-Man's always been one of my favorite Marvel characters. I don't know who I have a favorite DC characters. Probably, while I don't really follow their lore too much, I've always loved Green Lantern. I always thought he was a really great character. But all of them are really already kind of getting their own adapted stuff. Is there any character that you guys love that have yet to be adapted that you want to see?
You want to answer it for me?
No, go ahead. Cindy. Zatanna. Surprise. Zatanna.
For me, I got 2 that you could probably kill with one stone. I still want my buddy cop film of Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. I still think that needs to be a movie. Have Jeremy Renner play Blue Beetle, and then have Nathan Fillion as Booster Gold. Boom, right there.
I would love that, man. I would love that. Let's see here. What other questions we got? Another one from Jessica Fryman from yesterday. Has production started on season 2 of Stargirl, and has HBO Max set a date for the premiere of Harley Quinn and Young Justice? Season 2 is in production currently. I believe they've already been dropping photos from behind the scenes on set. So yeah, season 2 is in production for Stargirl, and no dates yet on Harley Quinn and Young Justice, I believe. Although I believe Harley Quinn, like, not the season premieres, but I believe both of those shows are available on HBO Max right now, right?
Yeah.
Young Justice and Harley?
Young Justice and Harley Quinn on HBO Max. Young Justice is still in talks to even having another season. And Harley Quinn is already in the but they don't have a release date for it yet.
Okay, that makes sense. And then last two questions here from Dino Knights, aka AJ. He just sent these in today. Do you think that the Flash has way too many characters and has less focus on Barry lately? Like, do you think the series has lost its touch since after season 3? Do you think the cast is too big for Flash, or no?
I think 100% of the focus is still on Barry. Because everything around, even with the cast, all focuses on Barry. I mean, they're going more into Iris, which I wish she died, but they're going more into Iris and what's going on with her, and that directly affects what's going on with Barry. You see the trouble and stuff that relationships have. You see him trying to step up and make the team better. Like the whole season last season was him trying to prepare the team for what was coming. Like him trying to make them better for what they're going to do. So I still believe it revolves a little bit too heavily around him, because I feel they're going to feature these other characters, get more into who they are and how, you know what I'm saying, they might feel like they letting them down, or, you know, like trying to go get a little bit more into them. That's why I say with a balance from Legends comes so well, because it focused on them as a cast, and each individual person is important to the team and point. Right now, if Barry's not at 100%, they don't win. Mm-hmm. And you don't need people on your team like that. Even when Arrow ended, if Oliver isn't there, his team was still prepared to do what they needed to do to win. Barry might just be the best superhero there, like period, because his team can't survive without him. So he's the most important piece. Even in Supergirl, if she goes missing, there's somebody else to step up. So I don't know. Too many people, no. To be honest with you, I don't think Cisco gets enough shine.
I think
more Cisco.
They were on the right track with this last season for the most part in giving characters screen times. I just think there were a few really bad factors of everything that kind of played out. Like, I didn't mind the idea of the Flash losing his speed and having to, you know, rely more on his intelligence. I actually thought that was pretty good. I just think it came at the worst possible time, because you did it when Cisco had already lost his powers as well. So we don't get any more vibe, because this could have been a good opportunity to show off some of the other characters with their superpowers. But essentially we don't have vibe anymore. And then during the season finale, we aren't going to have Caitlin Snow, because she's currently on leave. Or she was on leave at the time they were filming it due to her being pregnant. And then they also are more than likely going to be cutting out a lot of Ralph Dibney. Am I saying that last name right? Ralph. A lot Dibney. Of the elongated man scenes, because of like the actor no longer being around. I'm assuming a lot of his scenes are going to be getting cut. I say season finale. What I really mean is season opener for season 7. So in a sense, I think what they were going for was good. I just think that they did it at the worst possible time for the show. Like, they really should have had this type of a story play out a lot earlier. So then you could have had these other superheroes that they could have focused on and, you know, relied on, while Barry was just kind of playing his own part, but more in him using his intelligence and not his powers type of a way.
Because to be honest, they actually cut down on the size of what the cast used to be. Mm. You know what I'm saying? Kid Flash running around. Like, they had 3 or 4 other characters running around with them at one time in previous seasons. And they're actually trimming the fat. So it's going to be interesting, like just like Stuart said, on how they handle this season finale, season opener, was coming in, because they still have to finish off their storyline, how to handle all that and where they go from here, because we're still stuck in the plot line of Barry losing his powers, so they weren't able to finish the season.
Oh crap, that's right. Yeah, we'll have to see how what they do with this upcoming season when they begin it off then. And then last question from AJ. He says, for Wonder Woman 3, what comic book villain would you like to be either the big bad and or ally to Diana that has not been adapted in any way, even during the old Wonder Woman series by Linda Carter? I've never watched the Linda Carter series, so I don't know what they've utilized or not. So just going off of her rogues gallery in general, are there any other villains of hers from Wonder Woman that you would like to see showcased? I'm not too familiar with the rogues gallery for her. Just looking at some of them, though, I mean, they've got a female by the name of Giganta in here. It says first appeared in 1944, Wonder Woman #9. She's a brilliant scientist who has the ability to increase her shape and size. She is sometimes allied with the Atom and sometimes with Queen Clea, but she does have the ability to grow in size. They have Ares, which they tackled. They have Cheetah, which they've tackled. There's a Dr. Psycho. That sounds interesting to me. I think we've already seen Dr. Poison in the first one also. Are you guys familiar with any of the Rogue Squadron? Or Rogue
have you watched Harley Quinn?
No, not really.
The little midget dude, that's Psycho.
Oh, that's them?
Yeah. That's Dr. Psycho, the telepath. I believe there's only one person they could use, and that's because they went so hard in this movie about the gods putting power in the items and having evil gods. Like they trumped up the whole gods blessing people and having powers. They even did it with going into Diana and having her show the abilities that she learned from her father with making the plane, you know what I'm saying, invisible and stuff. So in going in that context, I would want to go with Cersei.
Okay.
That I want the lady who was the immortal witch blessed by goddess what the heck is the name? Hecate? I could never pronounce the name right. You know what I'm saying, who has like origins post-crisis. She's just a dope person and has you know what I'm saying, venom for the Amazonians. Because I really feel like in this third movie, you have to get her back home. And it has to be something going on there that they have to come and get her to be able to stop it.
Looking at this little thing, it says the source is Cersei's first appeared in Wonder Woman #37. She's another character from Greek mythology, as made famous by Homer's Odyssey. She has lived for centuries and is one of the major Wonder Woman villains. She has a number of goddess-level powers, including the ability to control minds, create energy blasts, teleport, and transform objects. If you read the Odyssey, she loves changing men into animals. She has a siren's call that can lure men to their deaths, and the mirror of Circe, which is forbidden by the Olympian gods. That sounds pretty interesting to me, man. I honestly wouldn't mind seeing them tackle a character like her. What about you, Stuart? Do you like that idea, or do you have another person in mind?
I got a couple ideas. One,
sure, who do you got?
I would love as an ally. I would love it if they introduced Donna Troy or any of the other different Wonder Girls, essentially. But that would be kind of cool to have an ally for her like that. Story-wise, I'd want them to do a Amazon's Attack type story, but like make it good. You know, so essentially, like maybe have it be that you have someone corrupt who's taken over Themyscira, and she's trying to essentially manipulate both Themyscira and the United States into war because, you know, why not, or something, or maybe she works for Ares, the god of war. But yeah, basically, I think like Amazon's Attack was one of the worst comic books ever written, but it was also based on a really cool concept. So I think that if it was given to a writer that knows how to like write a story, yeah, I think wow, that sounded like the most generic thing ever. A writer that knows how to write a story. But yeah, you know, give it to someone that actually knows what they're doing with it. I do think that could potentially be a really good movie.
Have Ares influence Cersei and have Cersei take control of Dr. Psycho and have Psycho influence everybody else, do everything. Just give us all the
yeah.
Just give us all of them. But there is another. I know a villain that everybody's asking for, and everybody's asking for Veronica Cale because that's like the Lex Luthor to you know what I'm saying, to Diana Superman. Just a rich businesswoman that's like repulsed by the idea of Themyscira. But you would still have to get to get to that point, you have to get, you know what I'm saying, Diana in favor of Themyscira again to be able to do that, to get to the point of, you know what I'm saying, the whole Veronica, I hate the idea of a, you know what I'm saying, Themyscira type thing across. So maybe that's a fourth movie.
Possibly. Maybe it's a part of the Amazonian spinoff film. Who knows?
That'd be dope too.
Yeah, they got a ton of stuff in the works for this fandom for Warner Brothers. I'm kind of curious if that means if they are going to pull the trigger on it, since they are fast tracking Wonder Woman 3. I'm wondering if that means that they're still planning on doing an Amazonian film, or if that's just out of the window now. That I certainly don't know. I think other than that, though, guys, I think that's probably actually going to do it for us here today in regards to the live viewer questions. So I think that'll probably go ahead and wrap it up for us today. Yeah, we've been going pretty long, a little bit over 2 hours here. So I think we'll probably just wrap up in general. And if anything, we'll definitely be back certainly next weekend for you guys also. So thank you each and every one of you for joining us here, our first episode of the new year. Certainly back to great to be back with all the guys, getting the opportunity to talk to each and every one of you here to go ahead and bring in the new year. We got clearly a ton of stuff headed your way, guys. So if you are interested, we do have a ton of new content that's coming your way. We also did in fact launch ourselves a Patreon account, patreon.com/AplusOpinions. If you guys want to go ahead and support the channel in any other way, this is certainly a great way to go ahead and do so. We've got early access, we've got exclusive content for you guys over there, so certainly go ahead and check it out. Again, patreon.com/AplusOpinions. There will be a link in the description box below if you want to go ahead and check it out for yourself. Check out some of the tiers that we're offering and see if any of that certainly interests you. I know Indy's doing some character breakdowns also. We did go ahead and post one up just recently on our Patreon for Bloodshot, if I'm not mistaken, and you've got a couple ones that you're working on right now, correct, Indy?
Yes, sir. I'm like really getting into this. Like the whole character breakdown thing is fun.
So he'll definitely be offering that to you guys, so certainly look forward to. He's going to be doing some that's going to be regularly for the public, some that are just for the Patreons, so you can go ahead and see exactly what he's got working on definitely behind the scenes. So but guys, before we go ahead and wrap up, if people want to go ahead and reach out to you on social media, Indy, where can people find you, sir?
You can find me right here, first and foremost, at APlus Opinions. We'll be popping up all the news and reviews and giving our APlus opinions on everything in nerd and geek pop culture. Or you can find me at Nerd Mix Alpha everywhere and stream the music. Just search for Indy Uchiha.
Awesome, Indy. Thank you, man, for coming through this weekend. And Stuart, if people want to go ahead and reach out to you on social media, where can they find you, sir?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 on Twitter, and you guys can actually also find me in about 35 minutes on APlus More Phenomenal, where I'm going to where I have a video that's uploaded, and it's me essentially pitching how I would have gone about doing the Q Ranger adaptation if that ever happened. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely check us out, guys. We got a ton of content for you guys. APlus More Phenomenal does have a brand new video from Stuart dropping here soon, so definitely go ahead and check that out. And guys, yeah, we'll continue to flood our YouTube page with additional content this week, so certainly go ahead and look forward to it. Again, if you're looking for a new home for your DC reviews or Marvel reviews, this is certainly it. We are going to be reviewing WandaVision for you guys, and of course, our DC television shows certainly do come back. So definitely go ahead and follow us if you haven't done so yet. So smash that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Click that bell notification too, so when we drop brand new videos, you will certainly be notified. And if you want to follow us on social media, you can certainly do so right here at APlus Opinions, right up here at the top. We are going to be very active on our Facebook page, which is our hub page, very active over on Twitter, and you can catch us on Instagram and Twitch for you gamers as well. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for us here. We'll certainly see you next weekend, again, every Sunday live at 11 a.m. Central Time. So until then, do me a big favor. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And as always, keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye.